Good evening, everybody. It's okay. Live from Monroe County. It's County Council Live. No, just kidding. Welcome everybody. I would like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting of the Monroe County Council. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025, and I am pleased to say that all 7 county councilors are here, starting with Councilor Hawk, Henry, Iverson, Deckert, Wiltz, and Fido. So, welcome. All right. Next up, for all those that are able to stand that are in that U Hill room, please stand while we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, next up is the adoption of tonight's agenda. We got a fully locked and loaded agenda tonight, so I'm gonna ask our council members to stick to task as we handle the county's business tonight. But with that being said, does anybody have anything that they wish to amend on tonight's agenda? Yes, Councilor Wiltz.
Thank you. As I'm the liaison to the jail and sheriff, and they have an item on tonight's agenda at letter T, and because of scheduling conflicts, won't be able to be here later, and requested being moved to the beginning of new business, so moving T to in front of A, if possible.
So under 9.
Under item 9, yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So did everybody understand? It sounds like we are going to, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move to amend the agenda, item number 9, to move T to before letter A.
All right, we got a motion and a second on that. And again, that's moving item T to the front of new business, which starts with number 9. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this motion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of this motion to move this particular item to new business signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign? All right. Now, for the overall adoption of agenda, does anybody else have any other amendments to make? Great. So, with consent, since we are all here, I would like to adopt tonight's agenda as amended with no objections. All right, so ordered. Next up, we are moving to item number 4, which is for public comment for items not on the agenda. First up on our agenda, though, we do have a public comment. Shelly Sally from HealthNet Bloomington Health Center. Miss Shell, she's here. Hello. All right, and so for items that are not on the agenda, for anybody that is here in public, in the Nat U Hill room, you'll have up to 3 minutes, so you'll state your name, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to make your comment. And then for those that are participating virtually via Teams, you can also raise your hand, and we will recognize you once we go back and forth if anybody chooses to do so on Teams. So first, we will start here.
Thank you. My name is Shelly Salee. I'm the Center Manager for HealthNet Bloomington Health Center. I have submitted a report to you earlier. I hope you've had the opportunity to look at it, because I really am not going to read all of that and go through that with you. I'm mostly here to answer any questions that you have, and if time is permitting, I have a couple of little comments, but I will go with questions first.
But say just keep going through.
Just talk?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If you have questions about the report, please let me know, and you can even email me if time allows. But One of the things that I did want to talk about is that there's a lot of uncertainty right now at the federal level. We hear a lot about what's going on with healthcare, so I wanted to speak to that to let you know that we monitor this, we are closely monitoring the policies and funding developments. Thus far, the core FQHC funding has remained intact, so I'm very happy for that. And this includes the base grants through Health Resource and Services Administration, HRSA. However, there is an increase in operational expenses, and we are seeing an increase in demand of our services. So local funding continues to remain very critical to us. In fact, without your support, we would be operating as in a deficit. Your support helps us fill gaps not covered by federal resources. They help us expand to vulnerable populations within our community. And really important, it helps us leverage other funding. Because if you understand grants, many times they require a local match or show community investment. And this is one way that it does. So I think I wanted to bring that up. We're monitoring it. We understand times are tough for everybody. The other thing I wanted to say is that we were talking about this, increased transparency and accountability. As an FQHC, we already adhere to strict federal guidelines, funding requirements, and we participate in an annual independent audit. We welcome the opportunity to align with the county's goals and provide any additional documentation that you may need. I just need to know what it is, and then I can get the right people involved. So I made this very short, 3 minutes is like this to talk about healthcare right now. So I'm more than willing to meet at another time. If people need more details, I'm happy to do it. It's my passion, and I talk a lot about it, so I'll cut it short now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we have Life Designs. Again, just sign in, state your name, and you'll have up to 3 minutes, and you'll have your timer there.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Chris Hardesty with Life Designs here in town. We've been around for 30 plus years. You guys are very familiar with us. This is Howshi. He is our grant manager, giving you guys a packet with some information in it. I won't go through it all just for the lack of time, but it's got lots of details there. If you need anything further than that, don't hesitate to reach out to us. A few things that we do here in Bloomington is wellness coordination. We provide healthcare, not provide healthcare, but we may help the individuals with disabilities make sure they're receiving the care that they need. We take care of them getting to the doctor's appointments, getting to their appointments, getting the annual things taken care of. We do employment services here in town. We help individuals with disabilities find jobs. We do residential services, so providing care in their apartment, in their house, in their parents' house, wherever they're at. We have group home services. We have a day service that volunteers in the community. We do a lot of different volunteer work where we take our individuals with disabilities to lots of different places in town to volunteer and get involved in things. We are just recently restarting a program where we will be picking up folks in nursing homes and taking them into the community and doing whatever they want to do with their time, just giving them a chance to get out of the nursing home and get out in their community and the community here and do the things that they enjoy, especially folks who don't have family members or who may have a disability and need more assistance in doing that. So just a really quick snapshot of what we do. And part of the way we can do that is through the support that you guys have given for years here in Bloomington, and we appreciate it so much. I wanted to take a second to say thank you more than anything for the support we've been given and just encourage you to continue to do that in the future. I'm going to turn it over to Howshi. He's going to tell you a little bit about an event we have coming up. We would love to see you guys come and attend with us. There's a paper in here about that, and he's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Okay, we have an event called Sweet Together Ice Cream and Social Event. It will happen at Cars Farm Park on Shelter A, 9A and 9B. This is the event where we bring all of our clients and staff, people with disabilities. We will have all ability choir to perform to start this event. And we would love for everybody to just be there, have ice cream with our clients and talk to our clients and staff and learn about who they are, what they're passionate about, and what do they do in the community. But yes, love to see you guys there.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Anybody have, with the seconds we have left, anybody got a question?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for all your support for many years. We appreciate it very much. Thank
Yes.
you. And we'd love to see you guys come get some ice cream with us.
Yes.
Great. Moving on to, I'm trying to look in teams again to see if anybody has any hands raised via Teams. No, I don't see any. Hi, we have a public commenter who is also an elected. So you'll have you got a public comment for item not on the
I have a
agenda?
public comment.
Oh, okay. So you got 3 minutes and just state your name.
Hi, I'm Catherine Smith, the county treasurer, longtime member of elected officials and the community here at Monroe County government. And I'd like to formally recognize John Arnold, who is a CPA and who's not only a champion of the children of here in Monroe County, but of the state of Indiana. Statewide, he worked for the Indiana Department of Child Services, longtime service there, financial manager and CPA. I bring this to your attention because child services used to be funded by the county council until 2010. Our county budget hearings, John would present and we would fund it through property tax dollars. And that ended in April 2010. He of course, would do the budget for the child services, around $11 million. And he served as a liaison to the county council. But what I really want to point out is that he developed a new system for reimbursements that I helped him. We did it together, but mainly he did the heavy lifting. He saved $2.6 million on average for 3 years, resulted in almost $7.5 million of savings to the county council during those 3 years. And Marty, I'm sure, remembers this because we were very, very happy. Those were lean years and it meant a lot to us. In 2010, Governor Mitch Daniels changed property tax usage and moved all the traditional welfare expenses from the county coffers into the state. So from 2010 to 2025, John has worked there. So recently, the state has had major staff cuts, 1,600 people. In this mass layoff, John was caught up in it. But it's important to have an exit of something with such a body of work that is so important. I wanted to share this information with our public and with the county council, because if anybody deserved a retirement party, it was someone who saved us all those millions of dollars. And of course, that just didn't happen because of mass layoffs. So I wanted to publicly thank him and bring this to your attention. And in addition to his tremendous work with our state's children, our county's children, he's been a cheerleader for homeowners associations where he served for many, many years as the head of the Gentry Estates Homeowners Association, served his church, St. Mark's, in the choir, and was the secretary of the Republican Party for many, many years. So I'd like you to join me in congratulating John on over 35 years of service to the children of Monroe County and the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I always enjoy doing while I've been in Monroe County was appearing before all of you people and presenting the budget and getting it approved. And because you always gave us everything we needed, and so we were able to take care of the children really well. And up until 2010, it was county-based funding, and so we came to you people for approval, but of our budget and expenditures. But after 2010, the state took over, so we no longer came to you people for approval. It's just all of the child welfare expenditures were paid
out of the state budget. And so, but I always did enjoy coming to people and working with you and working with Marty especially. And but all of you people are new since I came here last. So and and I'm David Henry. I enjoyed getting to know you recently, and thanks for your help with certain issues that I had, and that's appreciated. And but thanks for all of your support over all the years. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Again, if you would like to speak on items not on tonight's agenda, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill Room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. Let's call in the room. All right. Looks like we are done with public comment for this particular item. Next up, we will move on to department updates. Again, department updates are for items not on the agenda, and each department will have up to 10 minutes. And we have Miss Lisa Ridge already stepping up from the Highway Department. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to touch base with you before budget hearings. I provided an email to you all today with some extra data in it to support our request for the 2026 budget. As you look at the data that our department has provided to you, you will see why we are asking for the county council to support moving 9 administrative positions to the county general fund beginning in 2026. We aren't asking for additional funds. We will be asking for this in place of the Community Crossing Matching Grant Program that you've appropriated over the past few years. The CCMG program will be changing its format this fall, and the funding will be reduced substantially across the state with House Bill 1461, making it more competitive and no guarantee of receiving the awards in the future. Moving forward with CCMG, we will still apply for the grant, and if awarded, we'll utilize what we have in Motor Vehicle Highway, MVH, and Local Road and Street funds for the match. Since 2016, we have used the grant funds to enhance our paving program across the county. By supporting the administrative positions to move to the county general, this will allow the department to sustain our current service level to the public. I wanted to make sure that you were aware of this coming to you and not be a surprise. And if you wanted to have further discussion outside of this meeting. We have been in contact with our council administration, the county commissioners, county commissioner administrator, and our liaisons on the county council on this proposal, and everyone is in agreement that this is the best option moving forward at this time. I mentioned in the email today that I strongly encourage you to visit YouTube and watch the videos that Local Technical Assistance Program, as we all know LTAP, have put together that explains the distribution method of the MVH funds to the locals. And it is called Adventures in Road Funding, and it explains how the MVH distribution has decreased and will continue to do so in the upcoming years unless there's changes at the legislative level. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Else that would like to make, I see a hand from the auditor herself, Ms. Bree Gregory.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I just want to give a brief budget and gateway update just to kind of proactively explain where we are in the process and explain some of the added controls for the 2026 budget. So we have some changes to procedure this year and added controls. All auditor responsibilities have been kept in-house, completed by my team under my control. So specifically, the current year financial worksheet, I populated all the information. It was audited by 2 team members to ensure accuracy. So that's been done. It is in Gateway for your review now. Miscellaneous revenue, my team and I analyzed the historical data, compared that with current data and department submittals. We proactively contacted departments if there were any discrepancies to kind of vet those with the departments, and then made adjustments as necessary. We also utilized the Department of Local Government Finance's miscellaneous revenue estimates to help us with those estimates of other tax revenue that the county receives. For Further, regarding lit, we won't have those actual estimates from the Department of Local Government Finance until the earliest at the end of this week, but next week we'll have them for sure. For now, we have populated estimates as placeholders until we have the actual, just to give you a little bit more information in Gateway. Just a general note regarding revenue. I know we're all very much aware that revenue is decreasing for the next few years as local governments move from levy-based funding to local income tax-based funding. So, beginning in 2028, LIT should backfill the reserves if county council chooses to adopt rates allowing us to do so. So there is, light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, to help fund county government services. The advertisement in Gateway, we've increased all budgets by 30% to allow council maximum flexibility to move things around as you see fit. So you'll have that. As you're aware, we may not go above any advertised amount in any fund or category. So that gives you that flexibility there. CNAV. So this year, as you can imagine, with all the legislative changes and just all the additional work, things have slowed down a little bit. The Department of Local Government Finance has found themselves having some technical difficulties. And so my understanding is they lost a few weeks of data. However, we're still plugging forward. We had a hiccup with our TIF neutralization process, but that is underway now, and we expect to have our CNAV completed this week. So hopefully we'll get that final number to you. Further, the 4Bs have been populated. The advertised section is ready with the exception of populating that certified net assessed value number that we're waiting on. The adopted section is also populated proactively. So we pre-populated that based on requested budgets, just so you can see an actual Route 4B document. And that will be updated as you make changes during the budget sessions that we do here. So you'll be able to see actuals within Gateway, and they'll be updated every night after you make your changes. So I think that's going to be a really positive change for everyone. Finally, new controls. We as a team are going to be providing you the maximum levy worksheet, which you already have in your email, but it's also going to be provided to you with the ordinance as you're reviewing that at the end of the budget process. In addition to that, you'll have like a max levy estimated rate cheat sheet where we're populating the rates we've entered so far and totaling that for you, so you kind of have everything at your fingertips. And I'll give you that periodically too as we're going through and we make changes. So finally, I just welcome, as we go through this process, that you reach out to me directly with any questions or concerns regarding Gateway, and that we continue to work on this collaboratively. Look forward to continuing and finishing.
All right, thank you. And so just to clarify, the Gateway that will be implemented every single night during our budget session, that is replacing Jeff McKim's lovely spreadsheet that he used to do.
Yes, it's my preference that we utilize the root documents, which are Gateway. That's what we're actually submitting to the state for our budget. So I really want to use those. If your team, wants to do something else to help assist you with the process, that is fine, but I'm going to continue to draw your eyes to the root.
Got it. And then we all have, of course, Gateway login, so we all should be able to look at it.
And if there's any issue with that, I can help you get logged in.
Okay. All right. Since that was a lot of information that she gave ahead of our budget session here in the next couple of weeks, for the time being, does anybody have any questions for the auditor? Yes, Councilor Vital.
So I think you gave us materials here, right? So I'm wondering where the public might be able to see what it is we're being able to see here eventually, maybe not right this minute.
Yeah, I think I can provide that for the next meeting, if that would be helpful.
Okay.
And we can get that into the packet, and then we'll have updated numbers as well, because we'll have that certified net assessed value. I'd really like to wait on that.
Like public stuff, thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, just as a reminder, we received an email from Carly, And I think you might want to read that. Maybe not everyone would have had an opportunity to read that email. It's very important.
Yes, my department put out an email just comparing budget requests to revenues. So that might be really important to utilize.
Please, everybody read that because it made it very clear, especially what departments we have to watch for. I'm finding fault with department, but just looking at the budget numbers, and one of them was health, and that's what I wanted you to read that before we move forward with our meeting today.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else for this particular department item have any questions? All right. Seeing none. Thank you, Auditor, for that. Last call for any other departments that would like to provide a department update. Hello.
Hello again, Council. Kathy Smith, Treasurer of Monroe County. I have just recently been with my Chief Deputy to the Treasurers Conference state called meeting by the State Board of Accounts, as well as the DLGF, Department of Revenue, and some other important agencies that we work with. During this meeting, it was very apparent that everyone is pretty unnerved and maybe even a little scared of the upcoming this year and the subsequent 3 years from this. Each year has a different set of rules for how we're collecting taxes and what we can, and the methods, not just of collecting them, but of dispersing them, how it's going to work. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention because it's going to be more like your state taxes where you have these percentages and you also have credits. So I guess that's about the best way to say that. If you've done your own state taxes, you know you have tax credits. And there's multiple tax credits and and the deductions change each and every year for this year and the 4 years moving forward. This year, it will be the first year that we will have the tax credits, and then the homestead supplemental deductions change each of the subsequent 3 years. So because it is so different, the Treasurers Association, along with the other organizations, are very concerned about getting information to the taxpayer, which Bree and I are going to work together to get information put in the envelopes when tax bills are made out to make it as clear as possible. But they want us to anticipate very long lines, very lengthy phone calls, both my office and Bree's office, the auditor's office, and I do believe it'll also be the assessor's office too, but particularly our two offices where this is not something we're going to be able to explain in a 5-minute conversation. People who wholly own their house without a mortgage usually come in and pay their own taxes, and they're sort of used to the format. It's been stable since the 2010 that I was talking about when they changed the welfare, took welfare off our rolls and the other things. So most of those people are seasoned now, and back then I held, Marty probably remembers this, I held these meetings where you could come in and I'd go over each person's individual taxes with them. But now they're so dependent upon these tax credits that it's really going to take our two organizations working together. And I tell you this because the time that it's going to take to do all this is going to increase tremendously. And that's going to put a burden not just on our offices, but on your guys' budget. So this is kind of fair warning that this is going to happen. As Jeff and Bree can tell you, it's been hard to even navigate what they want and what they're requesting and what they're demanding, especially it's going to be more difficult to explain that to the average taxpayer when we're struggling sometimes to understand it as well. So Marty is my liaison. She's fully aware of what's happening at the state and pretty in tune with that. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that so that you understand. You're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to have some unhappy taxpayers. My cell phone number is published. They can call me 24/7. I'll sit and go over their stuff with them. However, we're anticipating long lines and, and people maybe have to make an appointment and it taking more than 5 minutes, certainly. So if you don't have any questions, I'll just kind of leave it at that. I'm a little concerned with everything else we you know, with all the GASB and all the other new requirements, our departments haven't grown at all. And we have increased. So if you just look around, drive through the neighborhood, see all the new houses and new apartment complex, that's all additional work for us. It's just every year more and more and more work with the same staff. So we're kind of drowning in it now with this new legislation. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
All right, thank you. All right, does anybody with the time being have any questions? Yes, Councilor Henry.
Thank you, Kathy. So just in layman's terms, when do you expect the first real world impacts on the public, when they would start showing up or being aware or asking you questions?
Well, I think when they get their tax bill, I think people in the know will come in ahead of time and want to talk to us or all Marty's friends who are pretty smart in that area. And you know, Marty is really good at dissipating information to help taxpayers. If we could all just be that kindly, you know, person to try to explain to them, because this is going to be difficult. But once we get those bills mailed out, I really feel sorry for Bree's department and my department, our workers, because it's going to be, things are going to go to voicemail. It's going to take a half hour to explain something that used to take 2 minutes, 5 minutes. We're going to have people crying, I do believe, because they come in and they just don't understand it. A lot of it is understanding. Our community is a very educated, well-meaning community. So when they come in, they want to understand it. They don't just want to say, bottom line's what you owe. That will not fly here. And I don't have that kind of heart. I have a servant's heart. I want people to understand it. It's their hard-earned money. A lot of, especially retirees, it's their biggest expense of the entire year by far. So I anticipate in March, when the bills get mailed, we are going to be inundated. And I'm sure you'll get calls. The commissioners will get calls. There'll be a line in her office and a line in my office. So thank you. Any other questions?
Well, let's see. Anybody else have any questions? Councilor Wiltz?
At the beginning, you mentioned stuffing into the envelopes information about this. Are you saying that you'll put together maybe like a fact sheet that
Yes,
kind of
we're
lays
going to
that
work
out?
together once it's all ironed out. I don't know, Bree's more intelligent than me, so she kind of did a fancier presentation. But did you catch where she said that the DLGF lost 3 weeks worth of data?
Yes.
Okay, we're in a critical time, not just for us, but for the state departments who help us. So without inundating them during the budget between now and the end of the year, because they do the budget, once we turn the budgets over, they work on them until the end of the year. We get our budget order. Then they start turning to the treasurers, and then we start, every one of my treasurers' bills have to be okayed by the DLGF. It's a lengthy process. So everything's in its time and it's in its time slot, but each time slot's taking longer by far than the time slots usually take and what the code kind of allows for. So I'm kind of worried that, you know, at the end of the train is the worst impact, right? You know, because it smashes all the other cars. So I don't want to be the caboose that ruins anything. So I just wanted to tell you up front what I'm truly expecting and sincerely hope I'm wrong. So
Thank you.
I hope that answered your question, Kate.
Thank you, Treasurer Smith. All right. Any other department updates for items not on the agenda? Looking around in the room, not seeing any movement. Any hands raised online? So I do definitely want to say thank you to all of those who provided updates with the department updates. There's a lot that we have on our agenda. Again, coming up with budget seasons and whatnot. So we appreciate all the heads up that everybody has given us. Thank you. All right, next up is item number 6. And this is the annual review of the estimated property tax levy limits for the budget year 2026. And this is the county fiscal body must annually review the estimated property tax levy limits and the estimated property tax caps, which are also known as the circuit breakers, that impact for Monroe County non-binding entities. Do we have any questions from the counselors regarding the estimates that we have received? Councilor Hogg.
Yes, What, do you know what date it is that the library is supposed to be meeting with us? Us? I believe they were going to, they don't have to meet with us as long as they were going to hold certain guidelines, but if they had to go over that, they were going to meet with us. Is that what I understood? I saw an email. I just want to make sure that we don't pass up our obligation to listen to the library, because the others, we really, we don't have that much influence over. We can say what we recommend, but we know we have to cooperate with the library, at least hear them if they come forward and ask for a change.
It's not anything as of yet regarding the library. But I can reach out to them and find out when they plan on coming in.
I just saw the headlines of an email and kept flying through, so thank you.
Okay. Oh, hello.
Mr. Lettler's here.
Okay.
My name's
hi.
Gary Lettler. I'm the Director of Finance at the library.
Well, hello.
Happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Oh, okay. How convenient.
So it sounds, would you like to ask your question, Marty?
I just want to make sure that that if this is a year that you're going to be required to come in and ask for us a change, in a couple of years ago, that deadline was passed, and I want to make sure that we don't miss that deadline for you. I mean, you're not required to do it unless the law has changed since like 2 years ago. You're only required to do it if you're asking for more than what those numbers, your original numbers, would allow you
Yes,
to have.
we've had DLGF review our budget numbers that are in Gateway, and we are under the maximum budget, so we don't have the issue we had a couple of years ago where we were over it. Yes, our budget has been reviewed. Our board can approve it, and happy to answer any questions.
And you've looked at the circuit breaker loss, which is a great deal more than it has been in the past. When
We are aware of the circuit breaker. We have the amount provided to us by DLGF. We made operational changes to adjust for that.
Thank you. I'm not finding fault with you. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing that time that you wanted to speak with us, but thank you.
Well, we appreciate the chance to talk to you at this time of year, and if there are any questions now or later, I'd be happy to get you information.
All right. Looking over here to other counselors and see if they have questions. No? And checking over here to my left to see if anybody else has any questions. Seeing none. Okay. And I'm gonna look to the auditor to give an explanation.
If I may, just briefly comment on the county's maximum levy and also the estimated tax caps here. I know that ours have increased substantially. Obviously, the DLGF does always estimate high. We'll have a better idea once we have our CNAP number, and I will provide that to all of you. My property director, Stephanie Carter, is here if we have any specific questions regarding that process. But otherwise, you are also provided the county's maximum levy worksheet. Please just take note that when we have that CNAP number, we will be adjusting the cumulative capital development number there, because right now it's at the 2025 rate.
Okay. Councilor Hogg.
Yes, I think it's very important that we at least acknowledge to the public and to all these taxing units that's being majorly affected, the difference in the property tax circuit breaker. Now, what this means is it actually is good news for the taxpayer, because what is a loss to the county revenue, library revenue, and all these other units' revenue is actually going at helping out the taxpayer so that their tax bill will not be as great. But our estimated amount for just for Monroe County government is $1,757,600. And so that is a gigantic increase. The difference between those is between what we'd had last year. I'm seeing here on the sheet is $1.5 million. And same as with the city saw a major change. Their circuit breaker is estimated to be $1,589,700, and that change for them is $1.4 million approximately. Now, we might say that generally speaking, DLGF is very conservative in the numbers and would maybe put in those numbers higher just so they don't make a mistake and get it set too low. But in speaking with others today, I think this actually was a little less than what we had anticipated it would be. So I think we would be amiss if we didn't at least mention this to the public and to the press so they can get the news out to the public, because this is gigantic change. Because remember, with the circuit breaker, that means the taxpayer doesn't have to pay it and no other taxpayer has to pay it, and we cannot put in an additional tax to make up the difference. It is strictly a definite property tax loss because that comes off of your property taxes. So like I said, it's good news for the taxpayer. It's bad news for the county units and for all the other taxing units. But as I understand it, this major change, and it is tied to the $300 credit per homestead or 10%, whichever is less. So I contacted DLGF to say, did they actually look at which one should be 300 or 10%, whichever? And the answer was yes, they did try to work very hard to try to make sure this would be right. And let me tell you, this is a gigantic undertaking. So we just have to wait to see how it works out. But we have to take this into consideration and not think it's just not going to happen, because it is going to happen.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Iverson.
My question is for Ms. Gregory. The numbers that Councilor Hawk was just referencing, will you have these analyses that we're all looking at ready for the public as well to look at?
Yeah, we can get those up before the next meeting, put it in the packet.
That'd be really helpful, because I think a lot of these numbers, as they get read out into the record, can get really confusing. I mean, the bottom line is that we're missing out on $7.8 million here, and that's a huge change. And I think seeing some of this analysis would be helpful to understand exactly what Councilor Hawk was talking about, is that local governments are really going to be hurt.
I think that has been in previous agendas, but we will certainly proactively put it in as we go forward.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And
yes, Councilor Hawk.
And remember, when this legislation first started going through, we were not going to have a levy increase this year. And then when the state said, well, no, we'll let you have a 0.04 levy increase, then there was another change of the legislation that said, oh, well, we promised the taxpayer some relief, and that's when they put in the 300 per homestead. And remember, that's not for business, or it's just for homesteads. It's 300. Remember, a credit is actually coming off of the amount you pay. Some of the legislation talks about a deduction. That's a deduction from your assessed value. But when it's credit, it is literally dollar for dollar what you would have had to pay. So good news for the taxpayer. Let's be happy for them. Well, I mean, come on. Somebody has to recognize that this is people having to pay these taxes. So they will have to pay the 0.04 increase. It's still going to happen. Only people it's really helping is if you have a homestead. If you're renting, it's not gonna help you. If it's a business, it's not gonna help you. So
All right. I'm gonna look over to my left here and see if anybody has any questions on the item that we are discussing. None? Okay. Auditor? Yes.
Just one final comment. Just thinking about Councilor Iverson's suggestion. I think what I can do on my new beautiful webpage is just add some of these important budget discussion items, and that way they'll be accessible there, and perhaps you could do the same on yours. So they're in both places.
That's probably a good idea.
And what was that website again?
Pardon? I said our new beautiful website, county website.
in.gov/county/Monroe.
Exactly.
All right.
Nice little plug there. All right. Moving on, I wanted to see if the auditor would be able to give us an estimated differences from 25, 26, or did we?
I'm sorry?
It's on our agenda here. Can the auditor give us an update on the estimated differences from 2025 to 26 regarding the tax levy limits?
Yeah, I think, Michelle, you put that together, I believe.
I just prepared based on the template that Jeff McKim had given us before. I took all of the numbers, and I believe that's what Councilor Hawk was reading from. So there's one for the levy tax, and there's one for the property tax. And you can easily see, the difference between the levy. If you're looking at the max levy tax, the difference between the 2025 current year and the estimated what they're thinking for 2026. So this was just a simple kind of spreadsheet so you can look at the numbers of all of the units for the binding review at a glance. This is the information that came straight off of the information that is provided on the DLGF's gateway. So this information is available there. This was just a spreadsheet that I put together so that you guys would have it for tonight.
all right, I believe it's in our packet.
Correct.
All of this information direct from DLGF is in
Correct.
the packet.
Yes, that is correct. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, since this is something that we do annually and per statute, if there are no objections, I would like to direct the auditor to notify the non-binding taxing units that council has reviewed the 2026 estimated tax levy limits and property tax caps with no changes at this time. Councilor Hawk?
Well, I thought something else was going to be presented. What I wanted to make sure that the taxing units understand that we all got this information now. They have not even had an opportunity to go over this information with their boards or with their financial advisors, and for it to appear that we've reviewed with any kind of knowledge what we've been presenting, because this was just things that DLGF sent to us, not the taxing units. And I don't want the taxing units to think that we knew something they didn't know. So I would like for it to go on record that we've received the information and that we forward it with no recommendation, because we did not get, because the units didn't have an opportunity to review them first. And I thought there was something that's going to be said to acknowledge, that they would acknowledge when their circuit breaker loss and review their budgets accordingly. I thought that was going to be, I was going to make this go quick.
I think it's
better though. It's what we got. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Cockrell.
And I talked with Councilwoman Hawk today, and she made that, so I kind of drafted a statement that if you guys wanted to, you could include. You don't have to, but it kind of reflects that you've reviewed the information from the Department of Local Government Finance, and that and it kind of follows the statute that you may prepare and distribute a recommendation for the taxing units. Otherwise, the minutes of this meeting would be forwarded, and that upon review, this is what it says: upon review, the projected credit loss for each unit has grown significantly. The Council would recommend each taxing unit to recognize the reduction in property tax revenue when preparing the budgets and plan accordingly. I think that kind of is, not ratifying any of the numbers from the state, but I think we all can recognize that there were going to be a much larger increase in that, and just to make sure they're aware of it.
Councilor Decker.
I would just say I wouldn't underestimate that any municipal or local government official in the great state of Indiana would believe that anything is of certainty and not for change, or necessarily any funds going to go up in this state. I mean, heck, the General Assembly could be in session at any moment, either redrawing their districts, redrawing congressional districts, giving out different changes, changing the definition of that, tell the milkman when to let the door open or close it and lock it. And so we've been under this for a long time. I mean, John Arnold, we celebrated in 2010, or celebrated his retirement, but in 2010, that was a massive change of about $11 million. So nothing's ever stable in this state. And so I think this is just pretty much more of the same, and those local officials are pretty clever in that.
All right, thank you. All right. So I will look to the auditor to continue to work on this. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Thank y'all for that discussion. Next up, we'll move on to item number 7, which is consent agenda items.
Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda item for August the 12th. A, the court's request in Fund 1000-0225, County General Courts, a category transfer of $139,344.41 from the services category to the personnel category.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the consent agenda item. Are there any questions from council on this particular item? Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I see that dollars are being moved from juvenile detention of $139,344.41. That it appears that that's the balance. Can we get an estimate of what the last 6 months of last year's expenses would be? I mean, we're taking down that line down to 0, is that correct? The juvenile detention. Remember, we put that juvenile detention in the court's budget with the promise that no matter what that juvenile detention number would be, if it was going to be more than what we had budgeted, we would make up the difference.
Well, we have Ms. Abraham that is here, so if you would like
Yes.
to
I've talked to Judge Harvey too. I know it's at 300,000.
Sure.
And right now, we have not even used 100,000 in that for this year. Judge Harvey says we're probably going to be right around 100 by the end of the year, so she was good with moving this. And instead of having to come back for an additional appropriation, and when I come from my budget, we're actually going to decrease that down to 200,000 for next year.
All right, sounds good.
That's good news.
Yeah. All right. Looking over here to see if anybody else on the right here have any questions or comments on this item. Looking to the left, anybody? All right. Seeing none, we can call public comment on this item. If you have public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Knight Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, and seeing that all of us are here in person, we can do a voice vote. So all those in favor of approving the consent agenda item as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next up, we will go to item number 8, which is ongoing business. And we have Mr. Kim Falk, Legal Director of the ACLU. He is attended virtually. And so if he is able to unmute, you can go ahead and start, Mr. Falk, and maybe give a brief overview of how we got in this position with you and where we're at now. Hope Mr. Falk unmute, because it looks like he's still.
I am trying.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm impressed at my limited abilities. And I apologize. I don't seem to be on camera, but I apologize. So I've been asked to sort of summarize the history of the litigation against the jail, and I'm happy to do so. As you probably know, the jail opened up in 1986, had a rated capacity of 123, which is the number of beds, although from double bunking and opening a small other area, that increased to 278. In 2008, I filed the lawsuit, which is still around, Richardson versus Marion County Sheriff and Marion County Commissioners. The allegations are simple, that the conditions in the jail involving overcrowding, violence, lack of exercise, environmental problems, all violate the constitutional rights of the prisoners. The Constitution doesn't require much when it comes to prisoners. It doesn't require the writs or anything fancy. It requires the minimal level of life's necessities, is what the standard is. And the lawsuit simply asks that the prisoners be housed constitutionally. The case was certified as a class action, meaning that we represent all the prisoners in the jail. We hired an expert who was the former commissioner, Ed Cohn, commissioner of the Department of Correction. He did a tour. He concluded that construction of a new jail is necessary because of the many deficits in the facility. We later then in 2009 entered into what's called a private settlement agreement, which is basically a contract to keep the jail population low and to provide recreation. We provided in the contract that the rated capacity is 278, but this is just the number of beds. And as you all undoubtedly know, correctional experts recognize that a jail becomes overcrowded at about 80% of the number of beds, because at that point, it is impossible to do any sort of classification. Everyone has recognized since that time that you need a new jail. The agreement we had was set to expire in 2011, but we have renewed it ever since, every year, while the county has moved towards building a new facility. I know that you have done other studies and surveys, and they all agree the jail is outdated, it's dangerous, it's not a proper place to house people, whether it be 10 people or 100 people. It's extremely staff intensive, there isn't room, and it's falling apart. And I'm sure you've heard from the sheriff as to that. Every facility, as you all know, has a useful life. Jails tend to have shorter useful lives because of how they are used 24 hours a day. And the consensus is that this jail has exceeded long past its useful life. So the question is, if you're going to build a new jail, how big do you build it? I'm not an architect. I'm not an expert. I do, however, have the experience of counties. I'm thinking of Vanderburgh and Vigo, where I was involved in litigation, and they built brand new jails that were open either on the day or shortly thereafter being opened, which makes no sense. I am not a fan of putting people in jail. I'm from the ACLU, but I recognize, as we all do, that some people need to be put in jails. Many people can be diverted to other programming, and I applaud all of you for recognizing that is something that you want to build in figuring out your county's correctional care. But a new jail is necessary. In June of 2021, the Monroe County, Indiana Criminal Justice and Incarceration Study was issued by, you had hired and paid for experts who concluded, not surprisingly, that a new jail is necessary. The jail facility, and I'm quoting from the report, is incapable of ensuring and sustaining constitutional levels of inmate care and custody. You need a new jail, and you can study it all you want, but it's not going to get the jail built. That study identified 53 separate problem areas: safety, security, health, inmate care, custody, environmental conditions. And I think I mentioned this briefly last time. If you have prisoners in an unconstitutional facility and they get injured, or they perceive they're getting injured, they have a lawsuit. You have liability. I'm aware of some insurance companies refusing to insure jails because of the risk of inmate litigation. I know from looking at the report that from your experts that they looked at a jail looking at out to 2045 that would need 435 beds. Again, not my call. What you need, however, is a constitutional structure, and you've been living one for many years. That is not. It's foolish to build a jail that is overcrowded as soon as it is built, but you have hired experts, and there are experts out there who can advise you as to the best way to have a jail, to have an ability to divert people who don't need to be in jail, but to nevertheless satisfy the duty we all have to make sure that if people are incarcerated, they're incarcerated in a constitutional manner. So I welcome your questions or comments.
Oh, okay. And I think you might have meant to say Monroe County because it looks like our caption picked up in the room Marion County. So just wanted to put that on record. All right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. All right. Looking over here to my left, anybody have any questions for Mr. Falk? Counselor Wiltz?
Yeah, thank you for being here again and again.
No problem.
The question I have is really, I think one I maybe we could look up, but you mentioned that providing recreation was a concern, and I don't remember hearing that before, and I guess not just a concern, but as part of the settlement agreement, is there a definition of what that looks like in a constitutional setting versus?
Sure.
Yeah.
There is not, because again, we're looking sort of the totality of the circumstances. Ideally, you want to, the more recreation you give, your sheriff will tell you, the better it is because people blow off steam. The cases I've been involved in have looked at 3 to 5 1-hour recreation periods out in the recreation area, not outside of your cell, but in the recreation area a week, except for people who are in the maximum security or in discipline or medically not able to do that. That is the goal that we look for. The private settlement agreement that we had looked at required 2 hours of recreation a week, which is far below what is recommended by jail experts and certainly not what a sheriff would want. But of course, part of the problems, as you know, having been in that facility, if you've toured it, is it really is staff intensive. I mean, there just isn't. If you look at a new jail, as I'm sure you've seen designs, many of the new jails are designed sort of like a pie, and in the center of the pie is a control unit, and that control unit can look into 6 different areas, perhaps depending on how you slice the pie. And I know, for instance, in Vanderburg, which was built too small but built nicely, at the end of that pie, the big part of the pie is an area where the prisoners are free to go in and out of during the day, outside, and they're obviously monitored. Marion County, which we were also involved in litigation, has very good access to recreation. New jails do that. Our jail architecture has improved, and one of the great things about new jail architecture is they're less staff intensive than old jails because of the ability to have direct supervision like that.
Thank you.
All right. Counselor.
Mr. Falk, thank you again for joining us. Last time our last council session, you attended as well.
Yes.
and you heard quite a bit from a robust public comment section. And I don't
Yes.
know that you quite got the opportunity to respond to any of those items. And I wanted to offer you that
Sure.
opportunity at this point.
Sure. Well, as I said, I'm not a fan of putting people in jail. I don't think any of you are. But I think we have to recognize that for public safety reasons, for many reasons, you're always going to need to have a place to house people in a secure and safe setting. You should not in any way look away from diversion. Taking people who are mentally ill or have under the influence of drugs and narcotics and putting them somewhere other than in a locked cell so they can get treatment. That is what we want. But given modern views of short-term stays like jails, there is a number, I don't know what it is, but you're experts do, as to how many beds you need. And you should not in any way turn away from that, thinking that you can somehow have a situation where no one has to go to jail, because that's not realistic. So I do not disagree with any of the comments that were made, in the sense of I do not disagree that there should be alternatives and funding alternatives, but that does not in any way diminish the fact that you guys need a new jail.
Thank you.
Great. Councilor Henry.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Falk, good to meet you on this side of the desk. I'm one of the newer members of council. The last time we were in a room physically together, I was at the time the chairman of the Monroe County Democratic Party, where we during a criminal justice response committee meeting where we read in our party's position on many of the issues that we really got into last Friday about alternatives to sentencing, diversion, home release, work release programs. And so, you know, it's as the public, it may sound like we're going back to the drawing board, but in some ways the state has forced our hand because of the budgetary restrictions of under SB 1. I have, I guess, some questions against the consent decree that I'm trying to understand. And my background's in project management, so I tend to think like a project manager of what is absolutely required to get to the marrow of the consent decree. As I read the document, just correct me if I'm wrong on this, the two pieces that really jump out are mentions of bed capacity, which while you've not given you've given a few numbers even today, there's a number out there that clearly is north of where we are, and then we have to figure out what that is, right? And then the second piece is the recreation piece that we just talked about, which I think says vigorous, 2 hours of vigorous activity. But outside of that, I guess my question for you is, you know, if we're making a checklist of things we got to do, and there's subjectivity around what, I mean, I want to be very careful when we say constitutional. I need to understand that better, because I think our current sheriff has done a pretty decent job trying to maintain a sanitary, safe facility and trying to meet a standard where we are keeping the facility under account. Walk me through what the other checklist items are outside of the consent decree that you're seeing, because we're going to have to build something, and we're going to have to check off those boxes to get to a place that at least meets this part of it before we even get to alternative sentencing and the values of the community. Can you help me understand that a little better and the public a little better?
Sure. The settlement agreement is a bare bones agreement, excuse me. And it provides, as you say, it says that there's a bed capacity of 278, which is basically just counting all the beds, even though we all recognize that you don't want to be at 278 because that means theoretically you have women within the men's area. You don't, obviously, but you can't classify. You have to put people on the floor to avoid that. And it talks about recreation. That's it. And it has provisions in it about letting me know and letting you know and letting everyone know when the population gets high, and to try and divert people if that's the case. Again, I don't want you to ignore the private settlement agreement, of course, but I would look at the report from the criminal justice incarceration study that you gave that looked at the key areas, and their key areas are safety and security. Do you have a facility that is safe and secure? And again, not just for the prisoners, but for those who work there. I mean, the problem with an overcrowded jail, as I frequently say, is that the people who bear the brunt of the overcrowding are not just necessarily the prisoners, because they leave. It's the people who have to show up every day and work in the facility. So safety and security. Are you dealing with a situation where you can provide for inmate care and custody? Do you have room for programming? You know, the sheriff, and prior sheriff as well, carved out a space for some sort of programming. But when you look at a modern jail, you have places for drug and alcohol treatment. You have places, a robust medical area, a robust way to do counseling. You don't have any of that. Structural systems is what you look at. Of course, this is a quoting from your own report. Well, I'm sure the sheriff could say better than I. You have structural issues in that jail. That is an old jail. And I remember walking through with Ed Cohn, who was a tall man. He reached up and he started feeling the pipes and the stuff that's around the pipes to secure the pipes. I mean, it's not a good facility. All those things, operational effectiveness. What does a sheriff have to do to secure one prisoner? You have to take an elevator, you have to go to a level, you have to go to another level. How do you get to recreation? How do you do that in an efficient way? It's not an efficient structure. I should add, when you look at a really well-designed jail, you'll have a correctional campus. You'll have an area where someone's arrested because they're obviously having a psychotic episode. They're not taken into a lockup. They're taken into a treatment area within that structure. And there are many ways of doing it. But I think that to try and continue to maintain that facility is just a problem because it is way past its effective life, and it's not a safe place. So I understand.
I don't mean, sorry to cut you off in the crosstalk there. I don't mean to suggest any of that at this point. I think where I'm trying to get to is I have a finite amount of dollars and I have a growing list of requirements, some of which you just articulated that are not in the document, but they're in reports. So I appreciate that, but they're not in the decree itself. To try to figure out where we need to go with it. I guess my only follow-up question at this point is, we did have some discussion on Friday about what stopgaps might look like in other counties that have gone down the path of either home detention, work release, some of those activities that do reduce the jail population while we're trying to confront an issue. And I will just say again, to reiterate from Friday, that to create a binary where we're talking about either work release or being in the jail is a false binary for anyone that has lived experience or people that they know that have been in the carceral system. Of course, there are people that may be able to go to work but can't go home because of the domestic status that put them in jail to begin with. I don't want to be in a position that says that someone can simply work and go back to their family when those separations may need to be there. So for those that think there's a binary between either work release or being in the jail, that is not correct, but I just had to reiterate that from Friday. But my question here is really, in counties that you've worked with that have found ways to reduce population through those programs, can you point us to some counties that have had success in the state that you've had to work with in similar conditions?
Well, I mean, every county that I've worked with, and it really does become me working with the county because we all agree that the problem has to be solved, have attempted various measures to reduce population and are continuing. I mean, Vigo County is a great example. They built this great new jail, and yet they're paying every day to house 30 to 40 people out of county because they don't have the space. But yet they are developing or trying to develop some sort of community corrections. Allen County, where a judge found that jail was unconstitutional, issued an order saying it was unconstitutional, building a new jail, but also dealing with community corrections. I mean, that is the way to go. But what many people will tell me is that there's a certain population, especially because of drug use and all that entails, that community corrections won't work. They'll try and they fail. I don't have a suggestion other than the obvious ones, which is you divert who you can, use community correction dollars. Marion County, while they were building the new jail, and even now, very aggressive on ankle monitoring, that sort of stuff. If you can do it, by all means do it, because people should not be in jail if they can still be productive members of society while being under supervision. But that's, I can certainly send you a list of counties that I have worked with in getting new jails built, and you can contact them and find out what they are doing. But I think they will tell you that there's a bottom line number that they just need those beds.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Falk.
I have a couple of questions and then we need to move on here. One, I was just curious in your conversation, since Sheriff Marte has been in office, have you visited the jail since he's been in office?
Yes, I got a tour, and I don't remember when, some time ago. Yes.
Okay. Was it after he was able to go in and do a complete overhaul?
Many of things had changed. There were still, I mean, he was still able, and I don't remember when the visit was, but he was still able to point out to me some real problem areas, areas where there was leaks above electrical outlets, for instance. I mean, stuff like that. And that's stuff that's not going to be fixed because it's just it's a continuous maintenance issue. But yeah, he's done I mean, what I saw, it looked good for what it is, but what it is a jail that is sorely past its useful date.
Okay. And the last question that I did have is, we were updated a few weeks ago that the new extension for the lawsuit is set to expire, I believe, January 15th of 2026, which is on the horizon. So I guess when would we know if that has been extended again or if it is not going to be extended again?
It can be extended if we all agree to it being extended. And the reason we have extended it all these years is that it was felt by the county persons who I deal with that it's very useful for everyone concerned to have a cap, even though it's too high, and to have some requirements, and that it is a motivating force to move forward to try and solve the problem permanently. It was not meant, the private settlement agreement was not meant to be a permanent solution, obviously.
Damn. Okay. All right. I'll go to Council Huck and then we'll wrap up with your question.
Right. I would just like our legal department to read to us that very last sentence of the private settlement agreement that is going to expire in January. I believe it says that it will go away unless it doesn't say that we're going to immediately get sued or something if we haven't built a new jail. It just says that this will no longer be in effect. Something to that sort. I don't have memorized, but.
Yeah, and I don't have it in front of me, but it would, I mean, when the settlement agreement expires, it will expire and it will go away.
And it just goes away. And in the meantime, we have been on, within the settlement agreement, we have been in compliance. The numbers have been down. We have, so I just want to make it clear. It isn't like as if somebody's standing over our head and saying, federal government's after you, which I've heard way too many times.
I think Mr. Falk expressed the major components of that agreement already, which was a population limit and recreation. And I think we've been at least 10 years or so, we've been doing a fairly good job. I think when it was first issued, I think that we had some struggles early on to get that number down to that limit. I mean, not unheard of at points of time that it would be over 300. But the county has worked hard to get that number to where it is now. Also heard Mr. Falk talk about the other conditions in the jail and those, with what our reports had said about the conditions in the jail.
Yeah, if I could, the advantage of the private settlement agreement is it protects you from new litigation, because at this point, we represent every prisoner in the jail, and they can't file a new lawsuit. They can file for damages, that's a different type of lawsuit. They could not file a new conditions case. If the private settlement goes away, there's nothing to stop either the ACLU or anyone else from filing a new case saying we want a judge to find the concurrent conditions are unconstitutional. So it protects everyone with the idea that the problem will eventually be solved permanently. And now we're way past eventually because it's been around for 15 years.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate that. And as we continue the conversations of all the things, I hope we can all keep this in mind and move forward. So, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Falk, for your time. We
Thank you all.
appreciate it.
You guys take care. Bye now.
You too. Thank you. Next up is the probation department.
Council, as a reminder, this is the second reading of this request due to the lack of a unanimous vote at the July 22nd meeting. I move to approve the Probation Department's request to amend the 2025 salary ordinance in Fund 1000-0226, County General Probation, to add positions as outlined on the agenda.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. We have Mr. Anthony Williams, that is the Chief Probation Officer here again. So thank you so much. And anything that you want to add to this?
Yeah, just for clarification,
Sure.
Deputy Chief.
Oh, yes.
With the chief
That's
back there,
what
I don't
meant.
want to.
I'm so sorry. So sorry. Put some respect on it. Yeah, so sorry. Thank you about that.
Nothing to add. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, though.
All right, I'm gonna look over here because I already see a hand before I could turn my head. So Councilor Hawk, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for spending so much time with me so I can begin to try to understand all these numbers, moving from it's musical chairs, folks, time. What I would like for you to recognize that what we can do now, moving something around so that you can get through to the end of the year, that is zero guarantee that's going to happen for next year.
Absolutely.
We've got a whole new budget. It's a whole new ballgame. So I wouldn't want you to think that would. The other thing I would hope that you're doing, that whenever you see a vacancy, that you let it sit there for a bit. I'm hoping we'll all take a breath until we see where our income tax revenue is going to be, which we're not going to know until between the 15th and 17th. But we know that things are really not getting a great deal better for a while. So if you see a vacancy, if you can just move around some of your other folks and not try to increase your budgets. I know it's tempting. You just don't want to lose any of your people. I get it. But try your best to move things around and in where we can help you. But I think at the end of the day, if we don't recognize that we are going to lose positions, not just your department, but throughout county government, then I think we're fooling ourselves. I am wrong, but we don't have the numbers, so we don't know.
And I want to recognize Miss Linda Brady. She popped in the seat, so I want to give you an opportunity to talk.
Thank you. I did want to speak up, Marty, to what you just said about if we see a vacancy, that since COVID, we have not been at full staff until the past 2 weeks. This is the first time since COVID that we've been at full staff. So we're actually very happy to finally, after all these years, be at full staff. That said, what we're doing, though, is not refilling some of our part-time positions that are leaving. We've had quite a few. They're the ones who we call them probation officer assistants. They collect urine drug testing and do some clerical work for our department. And as they have left, we have reallocated full-time staff to do those duties to try to save on the part-time money. So we are doing that at this point, just to let you know that we can't do without the full-time probation officer jobs, but that we are trying to work on the part-time. So just want to let you know that.
As a reminder, it's not just the probation, but also the community corrections portion of it is that, if I understand you right, you did not receive any increase in that grant. It's stayed level, which actually means it is a decrease in.
Well, correct. It's been at least 6 years since we've had that grant flatlined, although I think it was in 2022 they did give us a new evidence-based practices coordinator position. But other than that, it's been flatlined. And it's not just our department, it's across the state, that because the state budget had not increased. And then for next year, as you already know, they cut from the email that Anthony sent you, the state budget was cut by 10% for community corrections grants, and ours was cut not by 10%, but by it's a different cut. So.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we get everybody else with the questions as well. And I think Councilor Henry had his hand up, and then I'll move.
Thank you,
down the
Madam
line
President. I'll keep it brief. So I want to again thank you for being back. I also want to thank you for the hard work you do in this space. I was supportive of this vote last time. I'm supportive of it again because of this very reason that we're starting to see the real world impacts of the cuts at the federal and state level right down to our county. We saw it at our health department a few weeks ago, and now we're seeing it here. And not to get my SPIA professor hat on, but what we are dealing with is the shift from a cooperative federalism model where we deliver services that the feds and the states would like to see to continuing to burden counties to carry that effort. So we are going to have that debate in future budgets to figure out what it is we're going to have to carry as a county. You're already making the legwork to figure that out because as we know from the last discussion we just had, you were one of the keys in the kingdom here to helping with our correctional facility problem to begin with. I mean, so I can't wrap my head around a state house that is knocking our legs out over here while trying to, also, I guess, build more facilities, prisons and jails in the state to house people, and rather than pursuing the things you do through grants. And we know this is coming. We know we're going to have to start carrying these burdens. But in the defense of the feds and states, which I can't believe I'm doing from a past life, cooperative federalism was always about seed money to grant programs to hopefully get counties after a 10 to 20 year period to stand on their legs and start to adopt some of these programs. And so if this is what forces us to do and make those choices, I'm for it. I'm for it when we got to do this again. And I'd be for staffing and funding these things locally too to make sure we have these release valves in our criminal justice system. So thanks for putting up with this in week 2, but you're right, it's the beginning of a bigger conversation. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, thank you. Looking to my left. Anybody? Okay. All right, and yeah, you're in a rock and a hard place right now, so you're trying to do everything necessary, and I appreciate the fact that you're trying to move the missing pieces and move them around and be very proactive. We've already heard another department come in and make comments about things for 2026, and you're no different, and you're trying to do the same thing, but you're trying to do that for 2025, which is right now. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Anybody else if anybody has public comment on this item, you can either raise your hand via Teams or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room to speak. All right. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
No.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1 majority.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Because we moved an item here, we are going to move on to new business. But first, we are going to go to the sheriff's office.
Council, I move to approve the sheriff's request in Fund 1000-0005, County General Sheriff, to amend the 2025 salary ordinance account line 17302 crossing guard from $50 per day during the school year to $50 per hour during the school year.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. We have Ms. Jamie Yonke here. Hello.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to move forward.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. What I'm asking is to move the crossing guard. Right now, that employee makes $50 a day. They work 1 hour a day to $50 an hour, because sometimes, like today's a really good example, that employee couldn't make it for the first half-hour shift in the morning, but they were there this afternoon. So they were getting paid $50 for 30 minutes for today versus $50 for an hour. I just think it makes more sense. It's more, for our budget too, that they get paid essentially, I guess, $25 every 30 minutes or $50.
Self-explanatory. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm going to look over to my left. And Mr. Decker has a question for you.
This is the only crossing guard we have, right?
We have one.
For Grandview, right?
Correct.
Okay. And no problems filling that?
Nope.
Okay, that's always good. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor
So
Fido.
might there be anticipated expense increases as a result of this change, or?
Nope.
Okay. I couldn't quite tell. Thank you.
If I could say something, actually, what you will see is a savings because we're not paying the entire $50 for the day. You'll be paying $25 for that half an hour that she worked.
Would he be working the other half hour?
One of our civil process servers actually go out and help out when they can, when that employee is not there. So it's already covered by another employee working. So it is a savings.
I get it. I get it. Thank you.
Anybody else over here have any questions?
Oh, sorry.
All right. Yeah, Councilor Henry.
So if I just heard that right, is it a pay cut for this individual? How is that not positive? Just walk me through it like I'm a 2-year-old. I don't, or a kindergartner for the sake of the crosswalk.
It is, but I guess it isn't. The individual, prior to going to AOD, the way it was all set up, attendance on demand, that's how we do payroll and take timesheets now. That individual clocked in and clocked out.
Okay.
So
That was actually where was my question before that, which was this is aligning our HR policies to like we did with I think elections to get to an hourly rate rather than a per diem or something like that. Is that right? That we have an hourly rate rather than like a per diem rate for the work. And I guess I'm looking here, but also at Kim in the table there, right? Okay.
That's right.
All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, Councilor Hawk.
So on average, are you saying this individual works just 1 hour a day?
yes.
So, okay, if someone's being offered $50 to work an hour, that's pretty good pay. I mean, it's a very important job. I don't say that it isn't, but what I saw on what the documents I saw, maybe I was reading it wrong, it looked like it was going from $25 an hour to $50 an hour. And I just don't, I mean, no, I'm seeing Kate Shaker. Is that not what it said? That's what it looked like. I'm just saying $50 an hour is pretty good pay, and I bet you've got a lot of people who'd like to do that. I hope.
Councilor Decker.
I would trust the matrix that the sheriff and staff have worked out on this because I know that for the city, school systems, filling those crossing guard jobs is a disaster. The one in my neighborhood got hit, a veteran, Vietnam veteran. He literally got hit by a parent and speeding and all sorts of things. And it took literally the children and the whole neighborhood to get that situation fixed and a retired state trooper to jump in. And it was a million different things. So I would not, whatever the matrix they walk in here with on this role, I'd kind of trust. Otherwise, we're going to end up in that school bus driver mess MCCSC had a number of years ago. I would just kind of ride this one real pretty.
All right. Next, we will move on to public comment. If you have public comment on this item, please come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Councilor Deckard. Counselor Fidel.
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Counselor Henry.
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
That I can't go take that job. I can
Yes. We're in the middle of a roll call.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. Next up, we have courts.
Council, I move to approve the court's request in Fund 1170-0225, Public Safety Lit Courts, an additional appropriation in the amount of $9,040.72 in the services category.
Second.
All right. Hello again. Welcome.
Okay, this one is our PS Lit pays for our ASI guards in the Justice Building and the Curry Building. And of course, they get the same county raise as what our employees do. And when I did the budget for 2025, I inadvertently forgot to add that into theirs. So I'm asking for the extra amount of money here to cover them, the 3%, which I should have put in the budget last year when I came before you.
All right. And looking over here to my left, anybody have any questions? Counselor Fidel?
So will that be retroactive then?
No, because we still have enough money in the budget now to get them through till probably, let's say, October.
Okay.
So we're good now. And
Okay.
then this will just make up basically the last 2
All
months.
right, thank you.
And looking over here to my right and seeing if you have any questions. Counselor Hawk, do you have a question?
Right.
Okay.
I'm just hoping that if there's any of these others that need adjustments, that we'll take a look and see how many salary increases we missed getting it budgeted in. I'm not directing that to you, but just in general. That was one of the things that I was going over with the auditor today, is that I thought I saw some of the budgets that didn't have the 3% increase included in what they had turned in. So I hope we're looking at that, because we want to make sure if everybody gets a 3% raise, that they actually get a 3% raise. But thank you for spending time with us today.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for Ms. Abraham? All right. None. If you have a public comment on this item, you can raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel? Motion passes unanimous.
Next up, we have another item, item B, also from courts.
Council, I move to approve the court's request in Fund 1213-0000 GAL-CASA, an additional appropriation in the amount of $4,993 in the services category.
Second.
Okay, earlier in the year, our CASA program received some pass-through grants, and I got those all appropriated. About a month ago, they informed me that they received an additional $4,993 from excess money that was passed on to Monroe County. So I'm just asking that to be appropriated so I can get that money to them.
Yay, more money. All right. All right. Any comments or questions over here to my right? Any to my left? Yes, Councilor
I'd just like
Wiltz.
to reiterate, yay, more money.
Yes.
Hold on, I got one more coming.
We need confetti. All right. You have a public comment on this particular item. Please come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room, or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Next up, item C, more money.
Council, I move to approve the court's request in Fund 4018-0000 Courts Interpreter, an additional appropriation in the amount of $9,000 in the services category.
Second.
All right.
Okay, this time our court interpreter grant starts July 1st through June 30th. So this is my new 25/26 grant that I have received $9,000 for court interpreting, which is used for anytime we have a court hearing and we have someone that needs help in different language. So I'm here asking for the $9,000 to be appropriated. And it is a reimbursable grant. So we kind of go in the hole and then I submit it and then we get a check, and I'm ready tomorrow to send in for about $4,000 already of that in 1 month's time. So it's not going to last me very long.
You're ready. All right. Any questions over here to my left? Nope. Any questions to my right? Nope. Okay. if you have a public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. Don't be shy. Or you can raise your hand via Teams. Also, don't be shy. And seeing none, maybe please have a roll call vote.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry? Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we got the Board of Commissioners.
Council, I move to approve the Commissioner's request in Fund 1138-0000 Cumulative Capital Development, an additional appropriation request in the amount of $100,239 in the capital category.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, and we have Miss Angie Purdy here. Welcome. Hello.
Hi there. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, this is a request. In order to pay some other bills, we ended up transferring from some other lines to fill in on these other lines. And so at this point in time, though, our computer replacement line is suffering a bit, and so we're just requesting this additional appropriation.
Okay. All right. Looking over here to my right and seeing if anybody has any questions. Counselor Henry.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Purdy. So what were the couple of transfers?
Transferred, we had to transfer from I don't remember exactly how they all went, but there's a parking garage account in our budget that pays for our parking garage. We transferred, I believe, the 100 and 239 from the computer replacement line into the parking garage line because that had not been appropriately appropriated. It turns out that there's a new schedule. I don't remember what it's called. Bree and I were talking about it, but there's a new payment schedule because for the parking garage, and so what had been budgeted was not sufficient to cover the costs that were experienced this year for the parking garage. So this is to make the parking garage. The parking garage has been paid, that bill, but now this is replacing the money we borrowed from the computer repair line so that we can, a replacement line.
Yes.
I might be able to help with a little bit of clarification. The loan for this payment, the rate changes every so many years. So there's a rate change, and we have to actually reach out to the bank to get the new schedule, and we only recently got that and had a meeting with the bank. So that is why there's some confusion here. But yes, the payment did increase.
Yeah.
All right, Counselor Hawk.
Yes, can you share with us what that total loan payment is for this coming year? It was about half of the Kim Cap dollars, or what?
No.
It was quite a bit. And when is this ever going to be paid off?
First, I can answer the first one because I got it right here. So we paid $571,420.36 for the parking garage this year. And as far as when will this be paid off, we have some reminders in place because I believe there's a balloon payment. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cockrell.
The original contract and the original agreement would have this paid off in, I believe, 2040.
Yes, correct.
We have to work with the bank because their records indicate that this has a balloon payment, I believe, in 2030. And so I think we've anticipated, and I think the bank anticipates us going back and looking at that and getting a fixed rate until 2040 in a couple of years.
Thank you. That's it.
Oh, so it's not fixed now, is that right?
No, it's a variable rate that gets recalculated every 5 years. So I believe there are two different lendings.
Yes.
One was redone in, I think, 2020 or 2021, and it is paying about a 1%.
Mhm.
And then the other one that just shifted this year is paying, I think, about a 4%. It's in those neighborhoods. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I was sitting through that meeting. And
yes.
It's in those ranges.
Yeah. Oh, and there's no prepayment penalty, and we can, if budgeting allows, make our additional payments. So.
Sure. I'll go to the auditor, and then it looks like Councilor Wiltz wants to jump in too.
Just a quick note that I can provide the council with the new schedules, so you have that in your email, okay?
Okay, thank you. Councilor Wiltz?
So this project predates my term on council, but my recollection is that this wasn't done in a traditional manner, because this sounds very untraditional in terms of how we finance capital projects. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Why are we waiting to get better terms?
At the direction of the bank, and the bank indicated that in order to continue the current agreement, they needed to didn't want to go past, I think, out either 15 years, and they wanted to have it a shorter term in order to complete the final, to get it to 2040. This is their commercial lending line and their commercial lending practices, so I'm not 100% sure or competent in speaking on their things. But I think, like Ms. Purdy said, there is no prepayment penalty. So if we wanted to do something different with it, look into that.
Okay, I think that's something to put a bookmark in to discuss. In addition to the current rate schedule, could you send us like what's still owed and kind of that longer term?
Absolutely. I'll provide an analysis and everything I have to you. Okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That would be great. To the matter at hand, so we're doing an additional appropriation for computer replacement, but to be clear and make sure I understand, it has nothing to do with needing more money than was budgeted for computer replacements. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And in our notes, it says parking garage account went to stormwater.
Yeah, there was a number of issues that occurred. Stormwater, we received a 148. I don't have it here in front of me, but we were normally budgeted $40,000. We received in excess of $100,000 in stormwater invoices by the office. Those were paid to the treasurer. When they were paid to the treasurer, it was learned that we didn't need to pay for all of those properties. And so, but we didn't know that until we had to pay it. So we had made the transfer within there so we could pay the bill. So we made the transfer, and then it appears that we took that money from, I don't know, special projects, I think, and moved it into the stormwater drainage. Now, we've got that money back from the stormwater drainage because the total that we had to pay is $62,000. So now we're just trying to get our lines correct. So what happens is when we receive an invoice, if it's for more than what we had anticipated in an account line, we are directed to do a transfer so that we can meet those obligations. So we have met all of our obligations under both the drainage and the parking garage. And now we're just trying to get the money back in to the computer replacement line as it was originally intended.
How much is in the computer replacement line right now?
$7,207.94.
7,000?
7,000.
So how much was budgeted? Does that-
150.
Okay, so we're looking at needing that 100,000 likely.
Potentially, I mean, that's a technical services, and it depends on all the departments and who they, what's going through. I know that they're on a rotation as to who gets a refresh. So we just need to have it in there in the event that they need to get some new computers.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I do.
Yes, Councilor Hawk.
It appears that you would still have a rather substantial balance in the CUMCAP budget. So why can't you just transfer over to this rather than doing an additional appropriation right now? I mean, you could. You've transferred it back and forth.
Right, we have transferred back and forth. However, I don't know if the airport is going to need their funding. The sheriff's vehicles, that is spent. I'm actually requesting another additional on that particular line. I just submitted it today. The lease purchase equipment, I don't know ultimately what the final number is going to be. So that's why I'm just asking to get the amount back into this line so that we can, if we have to, we can make the payments.
Got it. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Okay. Anybody that wants to make public comment on this particular item? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go. I missed somebody. Yes.
Sorry to
Councilor
keep hammering at this, but with our departments, typically, just I feel like we would, because this is a lot. I mean, it's a big additional request, and I think what we would typically say is keep moving the stuff around and come to us at the end when you're looking at not being able to pay. Is that correct, or am I making it? I mean, because on the one hand, I feel like, wow, this is going to make it impossible to ever track, what our expenses were if we keep moving stuff around. But on the other hand, why do we keep appropriating if there is a balance available that's pretty sizable? Anybody have thoughts? It's a question.
Is that for me?
Not really.
Okay.
Sorry.
Because what my answer would be, if we don't use it, it just reverts back to the cash balance. And
I think I'm looking at transparency, and I started out the conversation thinking, my gosh, we're going to look like we spent way more on computers this year simply because we're doing an additional into computers, a line for that. And that's just complicating being able to track expenses for departments. But on the other hand, I know that we've typically said transfer around within the categories to cover. So I just would like advice. I'm looking at our staff table or experienced counsel.
If I may, you're exactly right. I think council procedure has typically been to move things around until there's nothing left. However, that's been the dilemma, is we can't accurately track what's actually being expended from the lines. When we're doing that, it makes it impossible, essentially. So, I mean, I understand the policy and why, council wishes that occurred, at least in the past. But I understand why Ms. Purdy's here now.
Right.
So unfortunately, I don't have advice other than I'd like to see a transparent budget, but I do see both points.
And on top of what the auditor has spoke about, when we do our reports, it shows up as a transfer within the detail part. So it doesn't show, it's going from here to here per se, or why they're doing it. It's just, here's this amount, they need it in here, especially if it's an in-house transfer. So.
To further clarify Ms. Schell's point, we can get that information. It just takes a lot of analysis and a lot of time because it is in the notes. I mean, we can get it. It's just if we do that for every fund, I don't know what else we'd have time to do.
Right. If I may, at the end of the year, the expenditure from the line is the expenditure from the line. So if we transfer out, that is not considered part of that expenditure. So the transfers are confusing. It's not clear to anybody, just as I having to keep track of all these transfers that we might have to do between account lines in order to pay the bills that we have. It really muddies up your budget. It really does. But at the end of the year, what you guys are looking at is the total expenditure from that line. And that's what I look at also when I'm trying to look at what to budget for the following year. So it's not going to inflate that line. So if I get this additional, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Does it make sense now?
Okay, thank you. Councilor Decker.
I was just going to say, you're saying that if we do the transfer back in, it just shows the amount at the end of the year for this was what it would have been minus all the shuffling. But how do we count for, I guess, do you make note in the next budget request, hey, there were things we had to transfer for to do additionals, et cetera, and then you either up that or fix whatever issue caused that to go up? How does that work?
So generally what I do is I look at the total expenditure of the year from that line. And so like for instance, I'm looking at computer replacement right now. We transferred $101,023.43 somewhere else in here. And it appears that it was broken up into two different account lines. But we transferred that. So then our total appropriation is reduced to $48,976.57. And then from there, we've expended $41,768.63 with a balance remaining of $7,000. It doesn't skew. It doesn't make it look like we're spending over $100,000 more in computer replacement.
Okay, makes sense.
Clear as mud?
Yep. All right. Now we will move on to public comment. If you have public comment on this item, please come forward to the lectern here in that Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz? Pardon?
No.
No. Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
I think.
I didn't hear. No. Motion passes 5-7 majority. Or 5-2, sorry. 5-2 majority.
Changes already.
Thank you.
You're the dope.
Next up, we will move on to item E.
Is there a way to just reflect on what we just did there?
You mean you want to speak about
As a recap?
No, I don't want, I just want to say something. about what we just did and more about the process to how these things are, which is, it just seems to me like this is a real sloppy way to handle business, but that's just my own opinion.
You are on the record for that. All right, now we will move on to item E.
Council, I move to approve the Commissioner's request in Fund 1138-0000 Cumulative Capital Development, an additional appropriation of $75,000 in the services category.
Second.
All right, Ms. Purdy.
Okay, well, this particular line is responsible for all of our buildings, not just one particular building. I can tell you that the Justice Building is the primary user of this particular account. We were down 70% at the end of June, which was concerning to me. We currently have a balance of $50,546, and I just wanted to ensure that we had sufficient funds, because this is a different category. I just want to make sure that we have sufficient funds to be able to pay for our building repairs as they come up on our buildings.
Okay. All right, looking over here to my right to see if anybody has any questions or comments for Ms. Purdy. Counselor Hawk.
Right, I just want to call your attention to the fact that they have a remaining balance in the cum cap fund that's not already been appropriated for something else at the beginning of the year, $1.5 million, almost $1.6 million. Their fund cash balance is $2.4 million, but out of that, they've got about $1.6 million that's not been spoken for. And that's the reason why we do the transfers, and it may look very messy. Remember, these dollars stay in there, but every time we give another appropriation, that means that they actually haven't had to use the appropriation that they've already received, so they can spend down out of that $1.6 million without our approval, because we're giving it to them. That's something we all should take a look at. Many counties do not appropriate all of their cum funds for the commissioners to make a decision. I don't mean to be finding fault with you, because you just work for the commissioners, but I'm just saying that's something for us to take a look at.
Okay. Looking over here, left and seeing if anybody has any questions or comments. All right, seeing none. Public comment time is your time to come in on this particular item. You can come to the lectern here in the Night U Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Feidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
No.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1 majority.
Thank you.
You'll have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
All right, next up is item F from the Health Department.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request in Fund 1161-0000 Local Public Health Services to deappropriate the amount of $121,831.90 in the personnel category.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, and we have Miss Lori Kelly that is joining us via Teams. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. This request is recently we've received approval to move 2 of our positions from Health First Indiana 1161 funding to 8111, which is a grant fund. So this is basically just to clean up those account lines and deappropriate those funds and update the salary ordinance.
Okay. All right. And then I had a quick question, since I know we're moving some things around here. How many positions do we have left in the HFI category since we've done the changes?
For this year, I believe I'd have to look again, but I believe at least 2. And I know that in 2026, there's at least 1 to maybe 2 more planned, but I can confirm that.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I'm gonna look over here to my right and see if anybody has any questions.
I would like for us to review the information from, who was it sent us that email about this? You want to say Courtney, that's not right.
Carly Woodruff.
Carla.
What do we-
And I'm not saying it'll change this, but it's something we all need to look at. Because evidently the movement of these positions, which I want to remind you, I didn't vote in favor of. I think that email from Carly said it was going to be about $1 million. And that is the same thing as saying, as the $1 million out of county general, because it's inside that same overall revenue. So, I mean, you know, when I was trying to say, let's put the brakes on some of this, I wasn't kidding. I know you guys think I'm just being difficult, but I mean, what are we gonna do with that $1 million we don't have?
Anybody else have any questions or comments on this side? Councilor Henry?
I just have one, and it is following up on Carly's worksheet. So there is, in the 1159, the percent expended as of June 30 is 30%. Lori, did you want to maybe explain, or Ms. Kelly, where like, you know, we're at 30% expenditure in 1159, like why at this point after June 30 it's that low? Is that because of some of the movement or what's been going on in that account?
It could be, but we had pulled pretty much all of our personnel out of 1159. And in previous years, it was before Health First Indiana, it was really supporting the majority of the health department costs, including personnel. So if you look at over the past couple of years, the county has saved, I would say, a few $1 million with the additional funds from Health First Indiana, in addition to grant funds and old state funding. We did have some probably just additional money in there that we for supplies or services. We've done a lot of transferring around. We also had positions that have become vacant over time that I have not refilled just because we knew about some of the uncertainty. And so that could be some of that also.
All right, looking over here to my left, Councilor Wiltz.
So am I correct in thinking that as we look at next year, the Health First Indiana funds we should be looking at moving administrative positions perhaps to that fund, as well as, like you said, the supplies and as many of the non-program serving, I guess, positions and supplies that we can. Is that the strategy?
Yes, so moving some of those administrative positions who are not going to most likely be in a position to have to provide direct services or program services. So trying to be able to transfer some of those costs. Now, I have kept program supplies and program services for those core services that were created because it's an obligation for Health First Indiana. So our chronic disease, a lot of our maternal child health supplies are in there, as well as some of our partnership contracts, access and linkage to care, so, and trauma and injury prevention. So there are still some there. We could certainly move more back around. The more that we keep in HFI, the more that we're going to have to turn people away for services, which is really what we're trying to avoid.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any or comments on this item? Oh, and I see the auditor has her hand up.
Just one other quick note.
Yeah.
Ms. Kelly and her team are currently working on reconciling a lot of their grants. A lot of these are older grants. So as they get permission from the granting agency to expend wherever appropriate, we should really prioritize using that funding.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to public comment for this particular item. If you have public comment, you can raise your hand via Teams or come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. All right, and seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk? Can you repeat that louder, please?
Yes, I said, since this is to de-appropriate those funds, I will say yes. That doesn't mean this is the way it's going to be in the budget next year.
Thank you. Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, and we will go to another item from the Health Department, item G.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request in Fund 1161-0000, Local Public Health Service, to amend the 2025 salary ordinance and to remove the positions outlined on the agenda.
Second.
All right, Ms. Kelly, go ahead.
Yes, so this is similar situation. So these are two positions that we requested and received approval to move out of Health First Indiana into our county health fund. So this is just de-appropriating those funds in the salary ordinance update.
Okay. All right, any questions over here from my left? And any questions over here to my right?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no questions, I'm gonna go to public comment. Come here to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
No.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. Majority will require a second reading.
Okay. All right. So again, we will come back to this item at our next session of council. All right. We appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. All right. Council, I'm going to ask for us to take a brief recess for and come back at 7:31 very promptly. I know Ms. Ridge is here and she is so patient, but we are needing just a little bit of a recess, so I'm going to ask for us to come back promptly at 7:31. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we know. Nope. I am ready. Locked and loaded.
I just read what I'm told to read.
Do not blame me, Ricky Bobby. All right, and we are back from recess, and we will move along.
Push those glasses up
so that we can stay alive. All right. Next up, we're on our. I'm thinking of the BJ's. Highway Department.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request in Fund 1197-0000, Stormwater Management, the creation of account line 39407, Red Bud Heights Drainage Improvements, and simultaneously approve an additional appropriation of $350,000 in the services category.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, and here, with all the patience in the world, is Miss Lisa Ridge. Thank you.
Good evening. So we just want to move on to the next phase of this project, hopefully bid it out for a fall project. It's been under design with a local engineering firm. The Stormwater Board supports this project. They have the resolution that they passed last December for the creation of the project and support the funding of the project.
Tori. All right. Looking over here to my left, seeing if anybody has any questions, and I see a hand. Councilor Wiltz.
Could
Could you tell us a little bit more about the project? It's am I on the right one? Red Bud Heights? Where is that?
So it's Cherry Lane off of Fairfax Road. We had done say phase one of the project a couple years ago. So this is the second phase in the back section, replacing
Right.
some piping and everything out in the
Right.
field.
Thank you.
All right. And looking over here to my right to see if anybody has any questions or comments. All right. Seeing none, if you have a public comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. None. May we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley? Yes. Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Great, thank you, and we will move on to item I.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request in Fund 8176-0000 Eagleson Bridge, an additional appropriation in the amount of $510,000 in the services category.
Second.
All right, Ms. Ridge, anything to add to this?
Just this bridge is scheduled to go to letting in January. So we have a contract for construction inspection, which is required for the federal aid jobs. It'll be, it's a reimbursable grant, so it'll be reimbursed 80%. We pay out 100%, get reimbursed from NDOT 80%.
Thank you. And looking over here to my right, does anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Ridge on this item? And looking to my left, anybody have any comments or questions? And seeing none, any public comment, you can come here in the Nat U Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, next up is item J.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request in Fund 8176-0000, the Eagleson Bridge, and to deappropriate the amount of $550,000 in the services category.
Second.
All right, Ms. Ridge, anything to add to this?
Just requesting to deappropriate that. The funds were not used because the property was donated for our project.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments to my left for Ms. Ridge? Nope. Any over here to my right? Nope, okay. Public comment time, raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, moving on to item K.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request in Fund 8166-0000 Rockport Bridge to deappropriate the amount of $331,200 in the services category.
Second.
All right, Ms. Ridge, anything on this item?
Yeah, this is just basically some cleanup work. When we started the grant funds, there was confusion on how the construction portion of our projects work. So this was programmed for the local match, but that's actually going to be paid out of the funding source, the 1135 Cume Bridge. So we won't be using that construction line.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments on this item? Over here to my right. And then over to my left. It's all pretty self-explanatory here. All right, but if public has any comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nightly Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Feidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Great. Staying on the highway train, we still got item L.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request in Fund 8165-0000 Vernal Pike to deappropriate the amount of $4,821,560 in the services category.
Second.
Okay. And this seems like the other ones that have been in the packet, but.
Correct.
again,
The
okay.
construction was paid out of the local funding sources, and the right-of-way and right-of-way consultation, those are both completed at this time. So we just need to zero those out.
All right. Looking over here to my left for any public or any comment or question. Looking to my right.
Yes, just in future, it's just for us to know, as I know you are already aware, the NDOT pays that contractor directly, so for their portion, so that'll save a lot
They'll
of
bill
paperwork.
the contractor 80%, and then we pay our 20% directly to NDOT.
Okay. Seems fair. All right. Public comment, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nightly Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. Seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Feidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right. And item M.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request for a fund-to-fund transfer of cash from Fund 8163-0000 Hunters Creek Road Phases 2 and 3 to Fund 1169-0000 Local Road and Street in the amount of $20,141.96.
Second.
This is basically, we received a letter from NDOT of the audit was complete, and this would just be transferring the cash that was remain in the grant fund. So we'll be able to close out the grant fund and the project.
All right. Any questions or comments for Ms. Ridge over here from my right? Looking to my left, anybody got any questions or comments? Okay. If you have public comment on this item, come forward to the lectern here in the Nightly Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. Seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Feidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right. And the last one that we have from the Highway Department is item N.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request for a fund-to-fund transfer of cash from Fund 1169-0000 Local Road and Street to Fund 8162-0000 Sample Road Phase 2 in the amount of $2,639.53.
Second.
All right, Ms. Ridge.
And this is basically to get the sample road cash balance out of the negative. We'll be waiting on the audit and everything for that before the grant could be closed out, just to make sure everything's in line.
Okay. All right. Looking over here to my left, does anybody have any questions or comments on this item? All right, and looking over to my right, anybody have any questions or comments? Nope. This was easy. All right. And if public has any comments, you can raise your hand via Teams, or you can come to the lectern here in the Nightly Hill room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Fidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
So much.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you for spending so much time with me today
All
on these. I
right.
appreciate it.
And so we will move along here and we will go to the Veteran Affairs portion of the agenda.
Council, I move to approve the Veteran Affairs Office request in Fund 1000-0012, County General Veterans, an additional appropriation of $13,655 in the personnel category.
Second.
All right, and we have Mr. Stephen Miller here. Thank you again for your patience. And go ahead.
Well, you're very welcome. Good evening, County Council. My name is Steve Miller. I'm the Monroe County Veteran Service Officer and the Director of Monroe County Veterans Affairs. I'm here because I need to request additional appropriations for my salary, FICA, and PERF lines. This became necessary because in November of 2024, Council approved a salary adjustment to my position, which went into effect January 1st of this year. At the time of the approval, the 2025 budget was already approved and in motion, so the way to handle that was to request additional appropriation at this time. So what I'm asking for is a grand total of $13,655. Of that, $10,983 would go into the salary line, $841 would go into the FICA line, and $1,831 into the PERF line.
All right, thank you very much. And looking over here to my left, does anybody have any questions or comments? Counselor Deckard.
I just, as I always do, whenever Mr. Miller is before us, want to remind folks what a tremendous effort, work, job that office does with our veteran community. And not just, let me just say this, not just the veteran community as we might traditionally know it, whatever that might mean, but literally veterans wherever they're at, whether that is on our streets, in apartments that are facing de-housing issues and all sorts of issues, they're there. And they regularly, this department sends updates both to me as liaison and to the commissioners on these activities and these stories. And then I go out in the community and I hear them. And I'm grateful for that. And I do want to remind, while we're on TV, for the two people watching out there, if there are veterans in this community who have served honorably, and by just signing up you did, this office might be helpful to you if you're struggling with things, and Mr. Miller could always speak to that, but it's just a tremendous resource, and I fear people don't always know about it, so thank you.
Very welcome, and thank you for your kind words.
Counselor Fidel.
So speaking of services, I'm drive by where the new building is going to be, and I just wondered if you could just give a brief comment about that.
The new VA clinic, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, the VA is saying that they're going to open the new clinic on September 15th. So very exciting news. It's going to be a VA-owned and operated clinic. It's going to replace both of the two clinics that we have in town right now. Right now, there's a discrete mental health clinic on Arch Haven, and then on Liberty is the primary care clinic, and that will all move under one roof, which should give greater access to veterans and their families to all the services that are available by the VA clinic.
Currently rent the space you use now, or?
I'm sorry.
You currently rent the space you use now?
I don't know how the VA pays for that.
All right, just curious. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
And over here to my right, yes, Counselor Henry.
Thank you, Madam President. Was I right in seeing that there's an event coming up for a Veterans Job Program event coming up?
Yes.
Would you be willing to share a little bit of that with everybody?
Absolutely, love to. On August 20th, there's going to be a Veterans Resource Fair at the Monroe County Convention Center. The hours are from 8 until 2. It's put on by Heading Home of South Central Indiana. Really excited to get this program underway. We're going to have a special emphasis on unhoused veterans, so there's a lot of programming that's built directly for those folks. We're really excited to get as many folks through the door as possible.
Just another example is Councilor Decker just talking about. I had a chance to hear the Heading Home lunch on that with you a few months back, and it looks like that progress continues. So looking forward to that event.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank
It's
you.
moved really good. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to public comment on this item. If you have public comment, please raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. And none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry? Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, thank you. Thank you for all you do. All right, next up, we have items coming forward from the Youth Services Bureau.
Council, I move to approve the Youth Service Bureau's request in Fund 4111-0000 donations BTCC, an additional appropriation of $750 in the services category.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, and I see Miss Vanessa Schmidt is online. Welcome, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, counselors. Vanessa Schmidt, Deputy Director at the Youth Services Bureau. I am just here to appropriate the donation, $250 sponsorship from the O'Connell Case LCW LLC, and a $500 sponsorship from the Family Solutions of Indiana. These will both be going towards our MC3 annual Youth Summit event that will be held in November this year.
All right, thank you very much. And anybody have any questions or comments over here to my left? Anybody over here? Yes, Counselor Iverson.
I just wanted to say congratulations. It's kind of nice to see you keep coming back and back with even more donations. That's great.
Thank you.
Right. And this is open for the public to come to this event, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. It's typically targeted as far as the workshops and the content towards folks that are working with youth and adolescents in our community, but it's open to people that, also just have children or, family that have children. So definitely open to the public and youth workers in any capacity.
Okay. And then is there a cost to attend this event?
I believe right now there is no cost. However, that could change. And so we will come forward with that information if it does change. If so, it'll be a nominal fee and typically would be charged to organizations, not necessarily public attendees.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Seeing no more other questions or comments, if members of the public have a comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right. Next up is item Q.
Council, I move to approve the Youth Service Bureau's request in Fund 9111-9625, the 1503 YSB grant, an additional appropriation in the amount of $495 in the services category.
Second.
All right, Ms. Schmidt, go ahead.
Thank you. This again is this is a reimbursement for what is called a QPR Pathfinder training. This is our question, persuade and refer, our suicide prevention training at the Youth Services Bureau. So often when we send people through this training, Indiana Youth Services Association will reimburse those funds for us.
Okay. Pretty self-explanatory. Looking over here to my right, does anybody have any questions or comments? All right, nope. Looking over here to my left. Anybody? All right. If members again have comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room if you magically appears, considering no one's here, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Hawk? Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Fidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Schmidt. Have a good night.
I have one more,
Oh,
actually.
one more. I'm trying to get rid of you. I'm so sorry. Before we do, you got one more, which is item R.
I just read that.
No, there are two different ones. The location number is 9625 for the one that we just did. That's for a different grant. This one is for 9627.
All right, well, I apologize. Council, I move to approve the Youth Service Bureau's request in Fund 9111-9627, the 1503 YSB grant, in the amount of $41,451 in the personnel category and $1,409 in the services category, for a total appropriation of $42,860.
Second.
All right, Ms. Schmidt. One last
Thank you, Council.
item.
Thank you, Council. Again, this is a continuation of a 2-year grant that we received from the Indiana Youth Services Association. So we do receive that $42,860 annually. Again, this supplements our education and case manager, some part-time staff, along with the benefits and associated training and travel. And so we have already approved this contract and continuation of the grant through the commissioners, and we are just asking to appropriate those funds tonight.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this item from right over here? And looking over here to my left, seeing none. Okay. If public would like to make comment on this item, you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. All right, seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Fidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
counselors.
much. Now you can have a good night.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it. You too.
All right, next up, we have item S from the Board of Commissioners.
Council, I move to approve the Commissioners/CARES Board request in Fund 1148-0000, County Drug-Free Community, in the amount of $42,143.68 in the services category.
Second.
All right, and we don't have Miss. Okay, but we do have you. Yes.
I'm
wow.
Ashley Collins.
Okay,
I
sorry.
am filling in for Steve Malone,
Yes.
who's in Ireland.
Okay.
So
I can understand why he would be here. All right.
And so I'm here representing the CARES Board that I sit on, which is our local coordinating council. And so this year we had $42,143.68 to allocate. We're asking for 13% to go to our operating costs, and then we have 3 categories. So 29% would go into each one of those buckets, which are treatment, justice, and prevention. And each one of those would have $12,297 and roughly 89 cents.
Okay, understand. Does anybody have any questions or comments over here to my right? Counselor Iverson.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting for so long. Can you tell us how this funding compares to previous years? Is funding up? Is it down?
This is my second year on the board, and I feel like this was about the same amount that we had the year prior to that. I can't really speak to what it has happened before. I do believe, in talking with Steve, he talked about that it has decreased over time, but I don't know what that looked like before.
Sure, okay.
All right, anybody over here to my left?
You don't have to answer this now, but I would be curious, as a 2-year appointee on the board or a 2-year member of the board, any observations that you've had that we should be aware of and think about while you're before us and you've waited so long tonight?
No, I think that overall, I feel like the board operates really well. We have a system of scoring our grants that come in that works really well. Of course, everyone would always want more money to be able to give out to people, for sure. But things are pretty tight these days, so.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, Councilor Wiltz.
So what, without us, I don't need a list of agencies, I guess, but what are the type of agencies that you're awarding grants to?
I have the whole list, so I can go through that. So out of our justice dollars, we had $1,462.50 go to the Monroe County Drug Court, Treatment Court, that helps pay for urine drug screens. And then we had $1,162.50 go to the Monroe Circuit Court Probation Department, which is community corrections. And this helps with alcohol breathalyzation tests that they do as well. Then we have, so we have two more people that or two more agencies that are in the justice dollars. We have New Leaf, New Life. And they got $4,910.39. And then the Bloomington Police Department got $1,862.50 for Toxa mobile test enhancement system, and it basically helps to provide detection of drug impaired driving. So it's not just testing for alcohol, it tests for other drugs as well. So that they're able to make quick judgment calls about things. Then in the treatment and intervention dollars, we had $5,010.39 go to Amethyst House. And that was the men's program. And then Amethyst generally writes two, one for the men's program, one for the women. The women Amethyst program got $4,062.50. And then we have Courage to Change with $5,292.29. And Beacon, $4,614.61. And then with prevention, we have Big Brothers Big Sisters, $5,233. We have People and Animals Learning Services, or also known as PALS, for $3,283. And then that totals everything, and we had admin costs of $5,250 that gets us to our roughly $42,000 budget.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know if it was all nonprofits, but it's a mix of government and nonprofit. And thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Alrighty, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you have a public comment on this item, you can raise your hand via Teams, or you can come here to the lectern in the Nat U Hill room. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
And Counselor Hawk is not present.
Okay.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night. All right. Moving along, since we've already done item T, I'm going to go to item U, going down the alphabet, and we're going to go to the auditor's office.
Council, I move to approve the auditor's request in Fund 4934-0000, the Curry Profile TIF, an additional appropriation of $132,987 in the services category.
Second.
All right, thank you. And we have the auditor, Ms. Bree Gregory, here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm coming before you tonight just asking for an additional appropriation in the disbursement to bank line. This would be to cover an upcoming the fall 2025 bond payment. This is to appropriate according to the to the amortization schedule. However, the amount we pay fluctuates. It depends on, what we're actually billed by the bank, depending on the work that is done within this area. So I'm confident we won't need that, but I'm just asking to appropriate based on that schedule, just as procedure.
Okay. All right. Looking over here to my right. Y'all got any questions over here? Looking over to my left. Anybody got any questions for Ms. Gregory? All right. Seeing none, if you have public comment, you can raise your hand via Teams, or you can come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room. All right. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Fidel,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Henry,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Next up is item V.
Council, I move to approve the auditor's request in Fund 8950-0000 American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, an additional appropriation of $27,498.90 in the services category.
Second.
Ms. Gregory.
Hey, me again. So as you recall, with ARPA funding, everything had to be contractually obligated by the end of 2024. However, we are allowed to add additional funding to current projects as long as it doesn't change the scope. So this allows us to not leave any funding on the table. So my next item is going to be a deappropriation from one project that doesn't need the full amount of funding appropriated, and we're just appropriating it here in this project where it can be utilized.
Okay, thank you. And looking over here to my right, see if anybody has any questions. Yes, Councilor Henry.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. I guess I have a question. I get the structure. I get that we can't change scope on account lines that as of 2024. Are there other programs under ARPA that we know of that have a similar ability to appropriate as long as we don't change scope? I ask this to say septic's great, but as I think about food needs in the community, some of the other things that ARPA went to in that time frame, I'm kind of curious if we understand maybe what else would be available. And maybe the second question is, do we anticipate additional things like this between now and the end of the year?
Okay, so
It's okay if you don't know.
part one, any project that has closed, it's done. So the projects that are still open, as long as it doesn't change the scope, we can move around funding as projects allow. So if a funding becomes under budget, we'll have that access to go elsewhere as long as we're not changing the scope. Now, part two, refresh me, I'm sorry, it's a long night already.
Are there other, well, I guess we answered that, but I guess, do we anticipate other appropriations like this at this point? I mean, this was a unique one with the transition director, deappro, but
Exactly.
what else is out there, I guess?
I think the majority of our ARPA projects could use additional funding, to be honest. So if, for example, if the septic project determines they can't fully utilize it, I know there's other projects that could use this funding, and it's just going to be up to you and the commissioners to determine where you want to put that. So I do foresee some more fluctuation coming before you.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam President. I would maybe just say to council that as we're looking at a lot of changes since the beginning of the year, if there are opportunities to reappropriate to other needs in the community, it's worth having a conversation. I don't know how much we have to play with, but if those opportunities are there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's a project that's
Right.
currently open and active and within the same scope.
Councilor Iverson, because I've got a question after you.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully it's not the same
You're
one.
totally fine.
Given the fact that you think that there are a lot of other projects that could use additional funding, or you said a number of projects you could use additional funding.
I know some projects have come in over budget. I mean, if we think airport, for example, maybe convention center, perhaps parks department, the turf project. I just know that there's always funding needs, and those are coming to mind.
It seems to me that this is a broader conversation than a simple appropriate and deappropriate. And I would encourage you to reach out to council president to schedule that broader conversation.
Absolutely, happy to.
So, my question is, because we're towards the end of 25, and ARPA has to have all funds expended by the end of 2026. And so I remember in our conversation that we had on Friday, there was something that came to mind that I feel like we did a long time ago before my hair turned grayer, there was this contract that we were supposed to have that was related to a project with the Criminal Justice Committee, Reform Committee, where we were supposed to do like a public-facing dashboard. And I remember asking commissioners then, like, what was the update of that? And I don't think we ever got it. So my question to you is, I know you probably might not, know what that is, but can we be able to have like some type of report of all the projects that we had with ARPA, and just a status update of line of what's been zeroed out because it's been completed, and what's over budget, and what could possibly use it, because it seems like another meeting could possibly be on the horizon, since I know those were joint meetings of council and commissioners to really kind of go through. And as Councilor Henry had mentioned before, there's obvious needs that we could use for this. And if we're not doing things with the funds, we need to get a move on that, and probably move so expeditiously.
Yes, that's a really great thought. And actually, it's on the ever-growing list of tasks in my department, but that is on the horizon. We want to get you a status update. As time allows, but before the end of the year. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I think that would be extremely helpful, because that would give us a playbook of knowing what we have to do for the upcoming year again, because December 31st, the money turns into a pumpkin and it goes away if we don't use it. So
I can assure you we are on it. We are going to do
course.
our best. We're not going to leave anything on the table. So
Absolutely.
I will get you a status update as soon as possible.
And I have no doubt. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else over here on the left have any questions? Councilor Wilkes?
No, my question is, are we interested in taking this appropriation so that money that we know can't be used will at least be in a spot where it could be used, and then we can move forward? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Got it.
Yep. All right. Don't have anything else. Public, if you have a comment on this, you can make a public. Yes, public, if you have a comment, come forward to the lectern here in the Nat U Hill room, or raise your hand via Teams. And seeing that we are talking to an almost empty room and nobody raising their hand on Teams, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Decker?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, thank you. And we will go to the next item, which is W.
Council, I move to approve the auditor's request in Fund 8950-0000, American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, to deappropriate the amount of $27,498.90 in the services category.
All right, Ms. Gregory, go ahead.
Thank you. As I mentioned, this is the other piece. This is deappropriating what you just appropriated. Happy to answer questions, though.
Okay. Any questions or comments from council? All right. Seeing none, public comment, raise your hand via Teams or come here in the Nat U Hill room and don't run. Seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Henry? Counselor Crossley? Yes. Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Feidel?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, Auditor. All right, moving on to item 11, which is County Council business. We will move on to item A, County Council.
Council, I move to approve the council office request in Fund 1000-0061, County General Counsel, an additional appropriation of $42,097 in the services category.
Second.
All right, and Michelle.
Good evening, council. At the beginning of the year, there was some ARPA projects that we could not capture contracts for, but the commissioners felt like that they needed to go ahead and move forward with these projects. The request was made for this amount to be taken out of general fund, and so there was a line appropriated into the county council fund, and the amount moved was from the Sophia Travis grant line of $42,097. I'm asking for the additional appropriation of that $42,097 to be appropriated back into the Sophia Travis grant line for this year's grant funding.
Okay. I had a thought, and maybe I should just keep it to myself. We probably would not have been in the situation that we were in if we did what we needed to do last year. But again, you're here to tell us that we just need to put the money back. Got it. Okay.
Right. And our budget isn't big enough to in-house transfer or even category transfer to for this 42,000. So we took it out of Sophia Travis, and now we're going to be needing it
Two
soon.
counselors.
Huh?
Just get rid of 2 counselors. That'll do it.
Oh, knock on wood right now.
No.
Don't put that to referendum.
Don't put that on us, Ricky Bobby. All right, council, do you have any questions or comments for Michelle? All righty. If you don't know, Talladega Nights is one of my favorite movies. Public comment time. You can come forward to the lectern here in the Night U Hill room, or you can raise your hand via Teams. And seeing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Idle?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Henry?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
You. And as we are almost wrapping up the end of the evening, we are moving on to item B, which is a discussion of tax abatement for Simtra Biopharma, and looks like that's our.
Oh, you're looking at me. Council, I would like to open for a discussion, a tax abatement for Simtra Biopharma.
Second.
All right, and here in the room we have Mr. Jeff Cockrell here. Hello.
Yeah, and I hope you don't mind that I moved here. I can't see half the council from that chair, and so it always makes me a little uncomfortable. And I think you're all aware that Simtra has bought the former GE site. And I know some of you have toured the facility with me, and we have gotten requests for tax abatement for that site, as well as a kind of a request to revamp kind of an old abatement that they received, I believe, last year. And the goal of the company is to clearly utilize that building in manufacturing and those kind of ways. The goal of the county is to have them utilize the facility and manufacturing in those ways, as well as employ people, get wages at a good level. And so they've made a request for what I like to call an augmented abatement. They've requested that we historically have done the standard state level of essentially starting with 100%, knocking off 10% each year, and then the year 10, it goes down to 0, right? So, or actually year 11, it goes down to 0. So we've been having some really good talks with the company. I think they've been very, very willing to work with us, willing to talk to us, and trying to figure out how to kind of accomplish all our goals. And so we've been in discussions with them about how to do that, and I think the kind of where we're heading is to have at different areas of time performance evaluations and adding equipment and getting the employment in the former GE site, which has been a goal of the county for at least 10, well, since it's closed, but at least the last 10 years. Really looking at that to get that back into productivity and having employment and having wage earning in that facility. So we're going through with those discussions and negotiations, and so we're kind of looking at benchmarks and, you know, how do we get them to add some manufacturing equipment and get jobs actually in that facility. And they've been very receptive to kind of what we've been throwing at them, and they've got some questions, comments, and, you know, things like that. But it's really progressing well. And so I guess this is a discussion. I'm just kind of setting the stage for you guys to ask me questions or discuss it amongst yourselves. I'm more than happy to answer anything you throw at me.
All right, and so council, I'll look to see who has questions or comments on this. I already got a hand raised, and I'll go with Councilor Iverson.
So I want to kick off this conversation by commending Councilor Wiltz. She put a lot of work into this, filled in a lot of gaps in, I think, where this is headed. And so I think that credit needs to be initiated. Councilmember Wiltz, thank you so much for kind of getting this progress going.
That's all you're going to say?
That is all. Now, if you want me to wax eloquent on economic development or abatement theory, I can start. But I thought credit should be given where credit is due.
Well, thanks. I think we were asked to come up with a reaction to the request, and so I threw out my reaction. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I can recap what that was. I was made aware by Jeff Cockrell over there that the part of the terms can request that a contribution be made to the Economic Development Commission locally, and I thought perhaps that might be something that could be done. I think we'd all talked about performance metrics being tied in the ways that they normally are, but maybe to be very specific about timing of those performance metrics and the impact on the percentages. I think that there are a number of other ideas that we could talk about. I am one of the people that toured the facility, and when they referred to, I mean, it's going to be such an amazing improvement to that property and to the area around it. So, you know, regardless of what we do, I think just the fact that things are moving is amazing. But when they were describing the way in which they were going to remove part of the existing structures and replace it with this grand lawn, I might have let slip that I thought maybe a wildflower meadow would be a good idea.
It kept coming up.
I'm like, you know, less mowing. So I wouldn't turn that one down, but that is not on the official list that I submitted. Anyway, I kind of threw out more specifically to Mr. Cockrell, and then I think it was forwarded to everyone. So run away with it.
But I just want to make it clear, she said the Bloomington Economic Development Commission, that is actually a city commission, and it's the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation, which is a not-for-profit entity that is allowed to under state code. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Counselor, I'll go to Iverson, or Henry Iverson. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, I know we're just discussing tonight, maybe just getting ideas in the air, and just trying to wrap my head around some things in light of both the opportunity and kind of what we're facing locally at the same time. And just so maybe refresh my memory about just some of the mechanisms at our disposal in terms of, if benchmarks aren't met, what clawbacks are in such an abatement, or what standards we might set, to try to, I guess, milestones within the period. And maybe the last thought as the evening's training on a little bit is, the fact that we do have a TIF on that parcel anyway, and what that really means for kind of doubling on what's already there. Just some of the milestones, clawbacks, and kind of understanding what's already sitting on that property and what that means for a potential abatement for this corporation.
Well, and I guess let me write all three of those down so I make sure I hit them. And
I'm talking paragraphs, Jeff. Sorry.
I guess in my mind, the milestones and the clawbacks are kind of would both be described in historically, and I think this time in a memorandum of understanding. And so we've never used a ton of milestones when we've looked at these kind of things. It's been more company comes in, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do it in 3 years, and off they go, right? And we look at it and make sure that they're making progress, and in 3 years, if they're there, they move on. If not, then we have conversations. We figure out why they're not, and go through it and go through the justifications. We've never clawed back anything. We've also, since we've had the MOU process involved, we've never really had the reason to claw back anything. I mean, for the last 5-10 years, people have pretty much met their obligations, or they demonstrate, hey, we've got 30 open positions or 20 open positions. We're paying decent wages, and typically when they don't meet the number of employees, they're over on what they say they were going to pay in salaries. So it's kind of, you can tell they're trying to do that. But in this one, I think we would have some language for clawbacks. And again, when it's in the MOU, historically the problem has been the state code talks about if it's for factors beyond the reasonable control. And so using that statutory mechanism was always difficult because that's a hard burden for the county to prove. Where when we have an MOU, we have a contractual obligation, and they have a contractual obligation with us that is a much easier, much more enforceable mechanism. I will say it still would rely on the county council to give the opinion that, hey, we're not going to accept their CF1s as being adequate. Because if you guys come to the conclusion that what they're doing is adequate, it's, how are you going to do that? But I really think that this one would have potentially clawbacks, but certainly transition periods as it's where, it's not really a clawback, it's just reducing the benefit, right? And I think there would ultimately be clawback provisions if they don't meet even the bare minimum marker that they set. And we would put that in that document and make it pretty strong in how we would enforce that. We would put that in there. I would just note that the company was founded or was moved to Bloomington in '83. I've had at least handled three different tax abatement CF1s, and getting to the numbers that they promised has never been an issue with them. They're typically a couple hundred above what they've said. I did a spreadsheet for this year, and I didn't bring it with me, and this meeting is got my brain not as sharp as it typically is. But they've always far exceeded it. So we'd have those provisions in there for that. But I guess the things I'm more excited about with the thought process that we're currently working on is reward for behavior. And I think that is something that we've never really experienced as a county when dealing with tax abatements. And it works well with my children. I think it would be a great thing to incorporate with more stuff.
I'll just wrap up by saying that, that's the good news. We've worked with, Simtra may have a different name, but they've been here for some time under different names. It's not new in town. It's not an organization that's new in town. And of course, with the West Side, and that's where I do live, to finally see something that could look like a campus on Curry that has a direct connect off to I-69 as an anchor, and really a very present company in the country here, as the second location outside of Germany is really exciting. Thank you for entertaining at least those initial structural pieces, given what we're talking about. But thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Iverson.
Yeah, in your recent meetings with the company and or BEDC, did you talk about the trail and the potential of a connector or extender or preserving it?
We brought it up. I actually reached out to Lisa Ridge, and I believe that planning, my information is that planning may be talking to some of the people in Simtra. The people I'm talking to weren't necessarily aware of that, so I talked to Lisa before this meeting tonight, say, forward me the stuff that shows where it's going to go and all that, and I'll get it to the people I'm dealing with. So yes, it's been brought up. Yes, it's been mentioned. I'm not sure where we're at on that because of that kind of a communication.
Sure. And I know nothing's been settled. Ink isn't even wet yet, right? So no contract's been made or anything. But where are we going in terms of, we talked about like a 3-year or a 4-year for the difference in rates?
Well, I think we're still on that path.
Okay.
I think they've thrown some things at me today that I think I need to talk about, and I'll probably reach out to President Crossley and Councilwoman Wiltz to kind of get their feelings on it. It's just different, and I don't want to. I don't have a formulated opinion on that, but it's interesting enough to me that I think it's probably something that I need to get feedback from.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think just to kind of throw it out there, I think the biggest thing is this is exciting to have this this opportunity come around, and I'm thinking of a lot of things that are happening into our community where we could potentially see some employers such as like IU, for example, who is doing a lot of lemon shakeups right now, where 2 to 5 years you might see the employment of them change and people might shift around and do different things. And so with this opportunity, this gives me hope because we're still trying to figure out what we can do. My other thing, and I always mention this every single time somebody comes to us with abatements, is the fact that we keep hearing, like we heard this earlier this year I was trying to look in my notes how it exactly was stated to us in terms of affordable housing and attainable housing. We want to definitely think about how we can work with, corporations and businesses such as this to figure out how we can bring affordable housing. Obviously, there's some other plans and flows that go in, things got to change like the UDO and whatnot. But I really want to see how they can work with us here in the county because, the jobs are great. And, when they're coming in, however, if we have all of that money that's being, made here with the, the workforce here and it goes elsewhere, we're not really helping ourselves in the long run when it comes to a lot of challenges that we see here in the county. So I know I have reached out and I got an email today about, setting up some time for somebody to talk with me about that. But I'm really, really, really interested and dead set on trying to figure out how we can do that. All right. Councilor Fidel.
So I too toured the facility with you, Jeff, and I was impressed with the tour we got. I was impressed with the fact that some of the facilities seemed to be already kind of in place when Cook had done some of the early renovations that now Simtra can use. So that was refreshing to me that they kind of didn't have to start all over again. I like that a lot. Of course, I'm interested very much in the abatement language. I'm used to reading language and want to delve into it and make sure that it benefits everyone. But I think that, but one other thing that was mentioned a little bit when we were out there was the fact of the history sale that's been going on out there for several years. And so the community cares about that. I've heard about that quite a bit when people talk to me about this happening. And they're refreshed to learn that it's not going to be moved right away. They won't have to move right away. So I know it'll be maybe 2 years. I don't know if there's any guarantee on any of that yet, but there's been discussions about 2, I think. So we'll see. I know some of the boards of the History Center have been told some things, so I don't know. But I'm glad that they'll get at least this year. We know that. And hopefully maybe a little more if things don't materialize that they need that space right away. So I was happy to hear that. That's been a longstanding revenue generator for the History Center and really garnered them lots of, thousands, hundreds, 100,000 sometimes of dollars over the years. And that's been very beneficial to them. So that I was very happy to hear that. But I'm looking forward to seeing some official language and would be excited to review it and then further discuss it and see what we can come up with that works out for everyone.
Councilor Wiltz, and then I'll go to Decker.
Okay. The only other thing, well, of course, there's always lots of other things. To Councilor Crossley's point, I think something that we could ask for would be some sort of offering of a salary-related, compensation-related benefit for Monroe County residents in their employees. Does that make sense? If you work for them and you live in Monroe County, there's some sort of compensation that I don't know if there's a precedent for that or how that works, but I mean, that's the type of thing that comes to my mind when I hear Councilor Crossley talking about how can we help and incentivize, housing.
I have not heard any, but doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I know, and we can certainly ask them if that is something that is reasonable. I mean, I don't know, right?
Yeah. The other things, since it sounds like we're kind of hello. I wasn't kidding about the unmowed area. I mean, it's a lot of space, but also, and I do recognize they have security concerns that are foremost, but planting trees is another way to kind of mitigate environmental impact. So I would love to see all of that kind of stuff. And these are the kinds of things that, are fuzzy, but can be impressive if,
Well, and I think I should probably reach out to planning to see what is already going to be part of their process and part of their requirements. So I haven't even looked at that avenue, but I was planning on it with trying to learn more about the connection of the trail.
Connecting. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate all the work you're doing on this.
Thank you.
I appreciate counselors' comments and questions and efforts in this process, and particularly Counselor Wiltz, and not only doing the site visit along with others, but asking questions in an effort to keep this moving. I generally believe this must keep moving. I think that I'm really worried about jobs in this community. I'm worried about jobs in this state. I am worried about jobs in this country because generationally I've lived through it in this community as many others have. And watching the evolution of how our jobs shift, as Councilor Crossley said very well, how things change. I think sometimes in the community, and I'm not casting aspersions, I think sometimes we have very convenient arguments that come from real privilege that don't always match the urgency of today. And I worry with everything going on in this country and world that every community is going to have to do everything it can to attract jobs. Incidentally, I'm currently reading Bill Cook's book, and that one was not really on anyone's horizon. He kind of was like a phantom out of his house and literally started that business. But in the past, the community has had to do a lot of things to attract jobs. At one point, we sent Herman B. Wells himself on a plane to beg RCA to come here, and he did it. We've had Showers Brothers shift and change, and it's sort of always been our story. And the life sciences, through that sort of Bill Cook kind of accident, became something that I think has balanced us as we lost those RCAs, the GEs, and Counselor Fidel could write a book on GE alone, and Otis. And so I always get heart palpitations about when does that happen next, because I can remember in the community, and I believe it was 1995-ish. I don't know, I was a high school dumb kid, but there was billboards saying, "What are you doing to a prominent local politician? What are you doing to keep the jobs?" And I worry here that we've got to ensure everything we can so that everyone said they did everything they could during the big one to make sure that those are here. One thing beyond that is this housing question, because again, people have to have a place to live here and function. I also think that we as a county have got to start having discussions that I don't hear like I used to about 20 years ago around TIFs and what those TIFs do and what we do with those dollars and where that goes. I think we have these built-in systems that somehow are funding STEM for RBB CSC, but surely we can make more smart moves than just that and celebrate that. I feel like sometimes we're like, it'll be fine. It's all going to be fine. It's all going to be here. And I'm not so sure. And I say that as a child of a worker that wasn't sure. And so everything that keeps us moving in this direction, I think is the way to move. And I appreciate counselors really working on that effort.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments on this particular item? All right.
And I just will, I will get with you, and then I'll also talk with Councilwoman Welch. I guess my goal would be to try to get something drafted to you guys by Monday and shoot for having this as part of your meeting on the 26th, if possible. That's my goal. If it's not, you guys can let me know, but that's kind of my time frame on what I'm going to be working towards, and we'll see if it happens.
I'm out of my purview. I saw a hand that raised. Ms. Schill.
I just want to remind the council that the 26th is a budget hearing, and we already have that scheduled, very tight, because that is the commissioners, and last year that meeting ran over to like 9:30. So I don't know how long this would take, but I just wanted to put that out there if that's the date that you're going to go with. So
the next regular session of our meeting is September 16th.
16th.
Literally looking about 1 month later. What say you, council? I know it's late, but I'm willing to hear suggestions. I know sometimes our intention is to keep things short, sweet, and to the point, and then the impact is 3 hours later. And so if we're going to, I really want us to be very mindful of, and I get what you're saying, Mr. Cockrell. I'm just concerned of adding something else on top of what we already have a busy time for. So,
Madam President,
yes.
I think we're going to need some time with the commissioner's budget. And I don't want to stack it, but I would offer and to maybe see if the temperature is here to consider moving the commissioners off that night so we could deal with it. I think we need the time with the commissioners. I don't want to have to stack these. But, and I'll just say frankly that after our discussion this evening around some of the appropriations, I think we're going to need a little more time with the commissioners.
It's not just the commissioners.
Right.
It's all of their departments that they supervise. And I've already got the draft schedule down and out to everyone. So at this point in time, it would be hard to move the commissioners, all of those departments to a different day because, excuse me, I just happened to pop in some candy. Because I have other departments like the courts, judges, who have to be on a certain day because they're attending conferences. And I have other elected officials that are attending conferences. So the first date that worked for the auditor or the commissioners was the 22nd. So
I
I'm
know I'm
kind of
pulling a
locked
thread.
in.
I'm definitely pulling a thread out of the tapestry here. I know what I'm asking, but I also, I said what I said.
You sound like a
I just
house.
wanted to explain, I kind of already have it almost done, and it's hard to.
It is hard.
To switch it at, this late date with 2 weeks.
I see some thoughts going, and.
Got thoughts?
Yep, Counselor
So
Vital.
I wonder about the company, what their temperature might be on this as well. I mean, surely they must understand we do other things besides doing abatements, right? So
They do, but they also wanted it on the agenda to be voted on tonight. And we explained how that was not feasible. It's a bad time of the year because typically you would have another regular session in 2 weeks, and I think that's perfect. You've got, you got that budget session.
yeah, I think neither one of us, quite frankly, can avoid the timing on either side. You know what I mean? I mean, I understand they have needs as a business and we have needs as serving the public. And so we're obligated to meet those needs, I think. And this is one of them, right? A company coming to ask for an abatement. But, the reality is this is where we're at and need to do what we need to do. So.
Counselor Wiltz.
Would it be, I guess I'm of the mind that I'd like to try to get this done sooner rather than another month out. So to that end, I'm wondering, could we do, there's no regular session, so it's not even advertised. Could we do then some sort of special session at like 4:30 on that day? The intent being that we would treat it as the one agenda item. An alternative is just, wouldn't work either, sorry. I thought that's my only idea.
Like it.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I also know that makes it a little bit longer for us as well too. But if we are going to do that, and if we have it at 4:30 and we want to stay on to task so that we can start our regular session at 5, I think that's fine. But I would also ask for counselors and anybody else that if we're doing this, to really stick to task so that we can stay on target, stay on schedule, not go into the 5 o'clock hour talking about something like this when we really know. Because, if we're not trying to stack it at 5 and then go into the business of budget sessions, then I want us to keep it short, sweet, and to the point.
So what I'll say is, if you do a special session, it'll have to be done in this room as a public meeting. But then we would have to give TSD and Katz and them time to be able to shut down that meeting, reset everything, and then start that meeting. So, you can't just stop at 4:30 and then make and start the next meeting. You're going to have a bit of some downtime.
So would people be more apt to having an even longer night with this if we started at 4. Looking at schedules, because I know that's already the start of IU that week, and that's the start of classes as well. So those, I want to make sure that I'm being mindful of those that have the working hours of IU, if that would be something that could be done.
Understanding that this is the only item on the agenda and it stays that way, and that people like me don't prattle.
Right. And I mean, we advertise it as, a special council session, not a budget, but a council session. And then when you're done, then you're done, as long as we can give, TS others time to flip.
Okay. All right.
Well, and to help with that purpose, I think it's exceedingly strong for counselors to continue to send whatever they've got to Mr. Cockrell and move through a goose and get that done. And then that takes care of that issue. And sometimes government can move efficiently quick to a yes or not a yes or whatever it is by kind of doing that.
Okay, so I think we've come to a healthy compromise. So on the 26th, starting at 4 in this room, we'll have a special session. Staff will go ahead and do that. Is that something that you think would work, Mr. Cockrell? I really hope so.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Do not say no.
We just went through all that.
I will do everything in my power to get you guys a draft by the end of day Thursday, and we'll do everything we can to make that time frame work.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Could you just get me all of the paperwork that I would need for that meeting packet for that? What they're going to possibly be signing and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, we'll get you everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, haven't done this, but I'm just wondering about the public notification. Is there certain public notification time period? Does this meet that?
Yeah.
Okay.
8 hours.
That's
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
We only
everybody's
need-
watching, so now they all know.
Right. We technically only need 48 hours to do a public meeting notice. So if we can get this done this week, we've got plenty of time.
Yep. Oh,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Sounds like we'll have pajamas and all the above on the 26th.
Snacks.
So get ready.
I'll be providing food.
All right. All right. Next up, last but certainly not least, is the most colorful time of the night, which is called the Council Liaison Updates and Comments. And I already see that Councilor Friedel has her items ready. So let's just go on down the dais and get it done.
So I have a bunch tonight because the last time we met, I just passed because I believe it was much more intense. I forgot now what exactly it was. And I just passed and let everybody else go ahead. So I have 2 pages of things, but they're not full. So I just want to report on some of the things I've been doing probably about the last 4 weeks. Did self-insurance fund meetings. Did the court's budget pre-meeting with Counselor Wiltz. The Svea Dravis Grant Committee open position meeting. We made the recommendation to the council. That's been done. Went to the Downtown Bloomington Inc. Action Plan where they had 80 attendees and their consultant. I went with them on a tour while they were downtown here, and they'll come back with recommendations to the whole DBI. Got to ride the B-Link, which was pretty exciting. We were that group that did the tour, we were walking downtown and the B-Link just happened to drive by and we actually hopped on and got to experience that. There were about 5 other people on there, so I was impressed it was being used. Did Monroe County Women's Commission meetings. And there was some data shared there that I thought was interesting. One was the percentage of women that are teaching at IU is 44% full-time. And the percentage of women teaching at IU are part-time are 57%.
And then in the community, and this is Monroe County, percentage of women teaching K through 12 is 77% women. And then just for elementary, the women teaching is 89%. Met with 3 of the Care Not Cages groups who we heard from last time at the meeting. And then between the last meeting and now, I was asked to tour the Tandem organization office space with employee services. It's one of my liaison assignments, and they are going to be offering this new postpartum benefits for county employees. It's a really nice facility. The DBI board got to meet Chancellor David Reingold with the university. His main thing that he said that day was, I wrote it down, he wanted to knit together the common interest of the campus and the community. So I thought that was an interesting phrase. Mayor Thompson was there that day, and she's using the previous wage growth task force for some of her work on the city. Sophia Travis Grant Committee kickoff meeting. The grant period ends on September 15th. They'll be making a recommendation to the council on the 28th of October. I've been telling different organizations about that while I'm out and about and getting some good feedback that they'll apply. Participated in 2 other employee services meetings, did the long-term finance committee meeting. We discussed that before. I'm on the Monroe County Fair Board, doing 2 meetings with them. They had to replace their roof, so that's a big expense that we probably will hear about when they make their budget request this year, I'm sure, because that doesn't happen every year. Then the special council and commission session. We discussed a lot of things about the jail there. I was happy to get a lot of that out and about in the public stratosphere. Toured the GE facility, now Simtra site. Was happy to see that. Did work there for years with GE, off and on with the layoffs and the rehires. Then I just wanted to say I've been meeting with TSD myself, and I must say that the person that was helping me work on an issue with my cell phone and the county council emails and all those kinds of things was just terrific. So I was just real happy with their service.
Look at all that love. All right, going on down the line.
Pass.
Okay,
I mean, come on, it's late. Do y'all a favor.
You got it. All right, looking down here to my left, or that's my other left, my right. Iverson.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Something has been on my mind, and I'm sure it is on yours as well, is that arresting our way out of homelessness is simply not going to work. So whether it's happening in DC or whether it's happening in Bloomington, arresting our way out of homelessness is not going to work. The real solution, and this has been documented over and over again, is housing. We need permanent supportive housing for those who are experiencing homelessness. And right now, what we're seeing out of the Plan Commission here in Monroe County is simply not enough. It's simply not doing the job. And so there are other alternatives that we need to be exploring. And the first thing that, I mean, we're hearing this all over the place. When we were touring the factory the other day, the number one concern that this particular company has is they don't know if there's enough people living in the region to supply their workforce. Why is that? Is because people cannot find homes to raise their families in this area. We need more permanent housing. The other thing that we need is we need to maintain services like Beacon Incorporated to provide direct services to those experiencing homelessness. There's no way around this. Someone's got to do it, and you might as well have the people who are experienced to do it. The last point I'm going to make is that Monroe County government needs to be working with community partners to ensure that when we have encampments that are on county property or in the county, that we are not going to take the easy road out and try and wrest our way out of the problem. We are going to need to have solutions, procedures to make sure that we are treating people humanely and that we are using the community services that exist right here in our community to help the people that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll keep it short, but though I noticed we're down a few counselors, maybe I'll just use their time too. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So anyway, I want to keep my comments to some of the stuff we talked about tonight and then end on a happy note. First, when it comes to property tax relief, we had some discussions about that early in the meeting. I really got to say a thing here. Back in April, I put an op-ed in the Herald Times on what the tax shift really meant for the community, and it is moving the burdens from property owners to wage earners in our community. So when we hear about praising the amazing savings, it really is $300 a homeowner household, which is a polar pop a day. And it is not the vast savings that maybe has been suggested by others. I think people are going to notice the return on investment of how much things cost in our county to run, that we do a pretty decent job at keeping lean. Again, polar pop a day is not a lot to celebrate on average for your property owners, and we know that 67% of Bloomingtonians rent, and those costs are passing on to wage earners. So let's make sure when we talk about that in the future, we're setting the standard right when we talk about what that really means. On dashboarding, I got to tell you, I know I like myself a dashboard or two, and I think between the ARPA discussion this evening and some of the other issues, it wouldn't be a bad idea as we continue down the jail conversation to really, as the buyers of that facility, ask for some milestones and some dashboarding on where we are. Because as we now move past, I believe, another deadline, because I thought the 19th was going to be a thing, we need in front of our community where we are on the stuff. And so if that is some sort of opportunity to look, it doesn't have to be a GIS thing. It can really just be pie charts for all I care about where we are in that. I think that there's an eagerness there. I got to say, on Broadway right now, the Bill and Ted from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure are starring in Waiting for Godot, and I'm feeling like that's kind of where I'm at. If people get the cultural reference, waiting on this briefing. So dashboards would be very helpful there. On a happy note, while we all know that every Gen Alpha and Gen Z is watching this meeting right now as they're getting back to campus, instead of watching Wednesday or Severance or Keabi LeMay, and I think I got that right, I wanted to say welcome back, or welcome home to our IU students who call this community home. I'm thrilled that Happy Gilmore is on their menu and that flare jeans are back, the 90s are back, which was my era. And just be patient for the dads that are driving down the wrong one-way streets and on the Beeline trails they move their kids in. And I hope I see you all at Pride Fest between now and the next time we meet as well. Bloomington summer is still going between the Taste of Bloomington and then a really great Pride Fest coming up as the students come back. Summer's still here even though the students are back. That's it, Madam President. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things is as we are gearing up for budget, I'm excited about that and looking forward to seeing that. The other thing that I was a part of over the past week is welcoming the students back to school with Fairview Elementary. That was really cool. With the Bloomington community, shout out to, she does not get enough credit, and so I just wanted to make sure that I shout out Director Shatoya Moss from the Community and Family Resources Department. She does a lot more than people think, does more than events. She helps out the community. Her department alone, they have street teams that walk out through various parts of this community. We've seen them at the Taste of Bloomington. We continue to see them all around. So I just want to give major props to her and the city for all the work that she does and her staff does as well. That was a really cool event. I've done it for the past 2 to 3 different years here, and it's always a pleasure of, after welcoming my children, or welcoming them out of my house, back into school, and welcoming the kids. It's such an honor to see the students there, and did that with Dr. Marquet Winston and other city members as well. The other thing that I was really proud to do was the Down Syndrome Family Connection had the Summer of Stars. And I was able to be in the fashion show this past Sunday. with a person I actually even knew. And it was awesome, and I appreciated walking down. I was trying really hard not to step on her dress. She had a really pretty blue dress on, and I didn't want to step on that, but that was a really cool event. I think sometimes we get so immersed into doing the business of the county, which is what we got elected to do, but also being personable and out there into the community is a big thing. So I was very grateful for that opportunity to be able to do that. And I was over here snapping at a lot of different things because as we are seeing a lot of different things, I really want to bring into the fact that I wish the city also realized that they can work with us as well. And I do think that we have an opportunity to do so, because I do think that our city council colleagues want to definitely work with us. And I also wonder sometimes if the city executive and the county executives even get together, and maybe they should. So I really think, and I'm dead serious on that. But I just think that everybody just needs to come together, because the issue on homelessness is not just a city of Bloomington problem, not a county problem. It's all of our problem. We see the jail count, and we see the people that are being housed in our jails, and we see the different law enforcement agencies that use it. Some might use it more than others, but no matter what, we all use it, and we all need to come together, because it's not just the county's responsibility in all this. So I would suggest anybody that watches this or knows somebody that will watch it to go run and tell that. So that being said, welcome back, IU. We've missed you. It's been very quiet. And I will have alternative routes, or concept of plans for alternative routes to avoid all the traffic that will come the way that we think it will. And thank y'all so much. And by the time we see you, we will be in budget season. We are adjourned.